and welcome back to the LEC live from the Riot Games Arena in Berlin, Germany. And today we have an elimination match ahead of us in the lower bracket round 1 as we see the teams enter the arena. No special entrance for BDS this time around.
Look very normal.
Yeah, not used to it. Honestly, SK of course here as well. I'm Laure and I'm joined by GB, you just heard him, but Finn as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Joining me on the desk today. So you guys always have silly bets when I have you together on the desk. Anything?
They're not silly, they're very serious.
Okay, they're very serious.
Let's get something really.
Anything you guys are cooking here? Or I think he owes you something.
He does owe me because we actually have an unresolved bet going on right now. Finn and I have a bad habit of going out together and then suddenly coming up with these bets. Last time it was about if Finn could make playoffs. He's here.
He made playoffs.
That's kind of below the belt, man.
Sorry, but that was the bet was about. And he had to eat some surströmming, which is a Swedish fermented fish, which is not nice.
Not gonna do this
He's
here,
been
but we're gonna.
scared. He hasn't done it yet, so we're waiting to resolve that one before we make new bets.
Munich.
It's a bit of a safety hazard. We'll try to make it done in Munich outside.
All right, outside of the venue. We'll see that in 2 weeks and keep the viewers posted, of course. But let's focus on the league. And where we left things off last week, I had to catch up on a lot of things, guys, honestly, being away 3 weeks. And that was an interesting experience, rewatching those votes. Let's start with Fnatic and BDS, 3-0. Not what I expected from BDS, GB, but clearly not what I wanted to see from BDS here.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I think if you're BDS in this situation, coming off season finals where you made a random, where the gameplay kind of improved over the course of playoffs, you wanted to see more. And I think if you're a Fnatic fan, you saw a good Fnatic after the season finals where they looked very bad.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame as well, because usually BDS is known for going head-to-head with the top teams. With G2 and Fnatic, they always take few games, but this time they really just felt outclassed in all 3 of the games. And I really hope they can show some of that vigor today again against SK, because I think they really need to refine it.
You say outclassed, but I would like to have more specifics as what didn't go well for them. Was this individual mistakes, team play? I feel like everything is just falling apart for BDS.
Yeah, for BDS, it's certainly the lack of cohesion we've already seen for them. I feel like BDS to me has always been a team where each player in each position was never the best in their role. But that wasn't what made this team good. It was the fact that they had great team play. They functioned well together. But it felt like against Fnatic, they were all just kind of shut down. And this great team play we're so used to seeing from them just couldn't come through. Yeah,
and I just have 2 quick points. I think first of all, Nuke had a lot of sloppy moments with Illusion. He flashed in, he did a lot of unnecessary plays that put him behind. And I also think that I really want to see Ice on Hypercarriers today, because I feel like he's not... I mean, he's good on Jhin and Six, but I feel like the team needs him to step up and be more of that carry in the end.
And on the other side, we're going to see Fnatic face off against MDK, which is not something that I expected at all. G2 going to the loser bracket here as well, but man, what a great showing from MDK. They're so exciting to watch in playoffs.
You can't stop them. Worlds is on the lines. This team somehow, some way, always finds a way to do it. And I mean, you're right. They have been incredibly exciting to watch. I think Mewin with the top lane picks was... I mean, normally I don't like seeing a range top lane on the enemy team, but competitively from Mewin like this, it's so exciting. You just don't know what you're gonna get. They didn't know what they were gonna get, and it was so fun to watch.
I mean, you can't hate the guy. This guy blind picks Nidalee in a game 5 against G2 and absolutely pops off. Like, look at this, he's 5 different champions. The Lulu sure didn't work out, but the Cork is very small. There's so many good performances from him.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you see these picks from Mirvin, but you don't expect Frescovi to just step up his game as well. So I'm really excited to see what they're gonna have in the rest of playoffs. But something that we've mentioned is that G2 messed it up for everyone looking to qualify at Worlds here. So before we jump into the action, Medic will explain how teams can qualify to Worlds.
Thank you very much, Laure. Yeah, I'm here to break it down to make it as simple as possible for all of you at home to understand how we send our 3 European teams to Worlds this year. It's the season finals, not the seasoning finals. That's held at the Spice Awards in Glasgow on the 9th of September, so you can grab your tickets for that if you want to. But if you want to watch the season finals, this is what we have on the cards. All that really matters is which 2 teams make it to our grand finals. If G2 aren't there, it will be G2 and then our 2 finalists going to Worlds, because G2 already have a guaranteed seed after they won our 3 regular seasons, or our 3 splits throughout the year. Now, if G2 make it to the grand finals, then whichever team ends up losing this lower bracket match in Munich the day before the finals will also be going to Worlds. So, to make it as simple as possible for all of you at home, if you make it to the finals, you go to Worlds. If G2 make it to the finals, whichever team ends in 3rd will also go to Worlds. Looking ahead at the season finals, though, the LEC Expo is back with lots of activities at Odeon's Platz on August 31st and September 1st. There's no ticket needed at all to attend the Expo, so come over, grab some swag and get hyped before watching all of the games. You can go to lec.gg/expo to find out more information on what we have in store for you. And for all the lovely cosplayers out there, the deadline for signing up for the Kia Cosplay Contest is today, with a grand prize of €4,000. For more details, you can check out lec.gg/cosplay. Now, Janiro is standing by with our favorite gnome cosplayer, Niski, in our Marriott Bomboy pre-game lobby.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Niski, as well for joining. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's have a conversation about this best of 5 that we're heading into. I'd like to know, how has it been in the SK camp? How has the prep been looking like?
I mean, it's been multiple weeks now that we've been scrimming and like watching other teams, trying to learn from them, watching lots of LPL, LCK, trying to redefine our meta because it's a new patch. And yeah, I think we've been doing a good job. I mean, still some fumbles like left and right, but I think we've been on the right track. And I believe we improved compared to the last time we played, yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. But we're looking at BDS, and that's a team that as well has kind of been making a couple of changes. They're looking to find a new identity. They're mixing things up a little bit. What's your read on their side of things?
I mean, I think BDS didn't really change much, in my opinion, from the way they played the whole year. They just like objectives a lot. They play team fighting comps. They play a lot of like AP junglers, AD mids. I'm not sure if that's going to change today, but maybe because it's a new patch. And yeah, I think their main carry is still Ice, in my opinion. And I feel like they have kind of lost themselves. Last time they played, they were playing kind of shaky in some ways. They didn't look as clean as they would in general. So I feel like today will be very crucial for both teams to play like a clean game, because I believe one of us will fail in some regards and like towards the mid game, and I think the team that plays the cleanest will probably win. And I think it's going to be on who's going to make the most mistakes rather than the one that plays the cleanest, yeah.
That sounds like classic League of Legends here at the LEC. When it comes to the LEC particularly and the teams and maybe the shakiness that we've seen in general, what do you think has been the main pushing factor behind that?
I feel like our team fights are very weird in LEC. Like they are not going as expected, kinda. There's always someone like trolling or like doing a bad like Corki, W and whatnot, or engages too fast. Meanwhile, I feel like in LCK LPL, they kind of play very, very clean, very slow. They wait for poke, they hold the zone and whatnot. And I feel like in LCK is more about like kills rather than objectives. Not that much about like the vision and the map, but more just to kill people.
Yeah.
I think that's the main difference, and that's why I think LEC has looked worse. And also I feel like whenever a team has a lead, they usually give it away, even like Fnatic in the finals, and I think G2 as well did some. So yeah, I feel like I know EU is not in a good state, so yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to see whether there's going to be a redemption arc today. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Good luck in the game. And Laure, back to you.
Thank you so much, Ginny. Amazing to have Niski's take on the state of the league. We will see him in the Rift in just a few moments. But first, we have to settle a debate over here ahead of today, because both VDS and SK showed us that they can have what it takes to compete with the very best. But one of them will fumble today, and if they do, everything stops. Both teams need to show up big now, or they will miss out on both Munich and Worlds in Europe. So who showed the most to the LEC fans? Who between BDS and SK has what it takes to be convincing and take it to the next round? GB, you'll be debating for SK, and Fini will be debating for BDS. And you guys in chat at home can vote and spam BDS or SK. 30 seconds on the clock to present each of your arguments every time. GB, you go first with SK because we saw them a while ago.
We have to talk about objective control. It used to be something that defined BDS as the best team in terms of doing that, but it has now become SK. I realize it's been a while since we've seen SK, and it wasn't the best from what we saw in season finals, but I do want to remind you how good this team looked when they were at their peak, and that's what I'm thinking is going to come out today. Look at these objective stats. Almost highest Drake percentage, the Herald percentage as well. It's all about controlling the objectives to control the game, and SK has become so good at that while BDS has kind of been under-delivering on what they used to be so good at.
Controlled arguments here on the clock, GB. Well done. Finn, anything you want to answer this or present the second argument?
Yeah, I don't think his outdated stats are relevant in today's discussion.
It's for summer.
Because last time we saw SK play, they lost to K-Corp, who BDS promptly beat last time they played each other. There's a reason we haven't seen SK in a long while. That is because they have been weak. And you mentioned objective control. I think their objective control is frankly not up to par right now. Cross maps, dragons, grubs. I think BDS has mastered this aspect of the game, and these are strong fundamentals they can fall back onto when the going gets tough. When the pressure's on in an elimination match, I think BDS will come out on top.
And your time is up, Finn. Amazingly controlled here, but I'm guessing that BDS has something that doesn't work quite so well and punishable mistakes here on the side of SK.
I mean, absolutely, and I agree. Listen, I know SK's obviously didn't make as far as run as BDS did, but I think that potential is there. And I think they have 5 gifted individuals who's able to punish. Like last time when we saw these two teams play against each other, BDS did something that they've been doing a lot. They've been making late game mistakes. As Niski was saying in the own interview as well, it really comes down to who can play the most clean mid to late game. And I gotta say, I'm throwing my ball over in the court at SK because I believe their gifted individuals with the break that they've had is enough for them to have cleaned up their gameplay once again and beat BDS.
I've seen that clip a while ago. I'm wondering what the audience is gonna think
Whose
about
side
this.
are you on?
The gifted individuals is one thing, sure. I mean, that is debatable for the first part, but I think SK lacks cohesion. When I think BDS, I think cohesion. I think Labrov on a flank, I think Adam hitting a key skill shot, and then 5 people pounces in exact same moment. When I think SK, I see 5 people running around, 1 guy suddenly flashes in, and then 4 people is like, oh, we're fighting now, and suddenly they're all trying to help the guy, but in the end they're always going to come in a little bit late. Here we see a great clip of BDS who's having a very well executed fight against K-Corp, who beat SK by the way, and just running them over on a Herald situation.
Stop laughing. that was you're making your opponent laugh. I'm thinking that you're doing well on
He's very good at this.
We focused on macro aspects of the game. I want to focus on specific individuals, going with you, GB.
I will agree with Finn that sometimes the cohesion has been a bit better, but let's look at those individuals because there is a bit outlier, and that is up in the top lane. Right now, with the level of play that top lane has, I mean, showed, I think Relevant's in a grand position to actually solidify himself as the best top laner at season finals. He's the best laner, at least from stat-wise, coming through from the top lane, and honestly, the meta is perfect for him. You pair that up against the fact that he's playing against Adam, who's had, well, let's say, not the best split so far in summer. I think there's going to be a big outlier in the top lane.
We have 76% of the fans thinking that SK is going to win, so I'm going to give the floor to BDS.
You give a lot of fancy stats, Goldberg boy, but I see same stats, but same, like, he has better laning stats, but they have the same damage in the end. It doesn't matter how well you lane if you end up with the same damage per minute as Adam. Adam has by far the highest amount of solo kills that we've seen in a long time over the course of the year. 30 solo kills and a wide champion pool. Irrelevant is some kind of Neo Alpharis type of player that plays his Gnar, he plays his Renekton, he plays his Jax, but it doesn't do much more than that. He gets his lane advantages and then he fades away into the game state. Well, Adam always has an impact, no matter how hectic the game.
And that's it here. I think we've heard enough from both sides. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And we're gonna head to the casters because it's time to settle on the Rift. Who we think will win, SK or BDS? Take it away, guys.
That's right, to see who starts the lower bracket run, or at least the run towards Worlds here in our season finals. I'm Asterix, joined by Dagda, and someone who's been, you know, kind of on the edge throughout the past couple of weeks, bought too many Worlds tickets, been harassed a bit for it. But for now, you know, he's just kind of getting through the day and joining us.
Why are you spreading misinformation?
Because I heard the call the other day and it was just so
He doesn't have
worthwhile.
World Guns Buddies. Or he doesn't have World 6, he has Gun Buddies.
I do have those, actually.
If you want those, talk to Venius as well. But coming back to SK, I mean, SK versus BDS should be a good matchup. And it is good to have both of you here because this is a matchup that is both exciting but sad. The fact that we lose BDS, how can it not be both?
Oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah. So it's already a good start.
I thought you were like directing like, oh yeah, these teams have not been playing well. I thought that was the angle you were going with.
I mean, to be fair, that's also true.
But you're right. It's pretty much the last best of 5 that one of these two teams will be playing.
Yep.
The fight for Worlds has only gotten harder, given that G2 has been locked down into the lower bracket.
Oh, yeah.
So even if they do win today, that fight is going to be a difficult one. But let's see what they've been able to cook up, because we did see BDS last week fumble against Fnatic in a 3-0 fashion, whereas SK have had time to prep and be ready for a BDS that have kind of had all of their biggest weaknesses exposed.
Yeah, I'm really curious how both teams have improved since the last time we saw them, because I think for SK it was moments where they were overextending side lanes, getting too excited, ended up losing out then to KC. Whereas for BDS, I mean, you heard it talked about between the GB and Finn, just how objective setup, which was a big strength for them, really wasn't against Fnatic, and Fnatic were able to punish incredibly well, alongside being able to punish Adam on side lane. So there are definitely big step-ups that I'll be keeping my eye out for when we get to this mid-game.
Because that's disappointing, isn't it? When we saw the evolution of BDS through this split, and again, every time I talk about this, I'm like, well, Dagda told me this. And it was exactly true that there was this development in how they played the game. You know, they're a little bit more versatile. Their early game development was especially there. But we could always rely on BDS coming back to team fights and being reliable there. That not being the case now throws doubt in as we go into Pick Pan. It is, once again, a triple AD carry start here as we go through the early phase.
I do wonder how high on the priority list this Rel is going to be when we think about Labrov. That has been one of his best performing champions in summer.
And just a reminder that Aurora is globally banned, so she will not be played here.
And just another reminder as well, I believe that is a typo, it's actually 14-15. We're not on 14-13. Yes. That was, funnily enough, the last time SK Gaming played. And as Dagda reminded me, they skipped a patch, but again, that's how long it's been. 27th of July was the last time they picked up the game.
The Alistair ban has heavily suggested SK is thinking about the Rel first pick. With a lot of the OPs open, I do wonder if this will be the priority. Rumble, we saw how that seems to be lower on the priority list here in Europe, but there's still very powerful top lane pick for sure. Question is, what will this first pick be for SK?
It's also the Ezreal left open as well, so I'm curious if you want to try and take that, because the Rel priority goes down if you've got the Ezreal at least who's able to try and play it back, but Rel is an incredibly strong pick, so there isn't many options available, and will be the Rel, and there's the Ezreal taking it.
And I think so many teams have learnt the mistake of giving that to Labrov, right? So taking it away, to me, seems like a really good start for SK, but on the other side, Maokai has been a must-ban through many different regions at the moment, and Ezreal still a premier AD carry to lock in both.
Yeah, and now it becomes a question of what do you want to try and take into the mid lane, because one of the things we've seen is that Isma hasn't been so good at taking a lot of the AP junglers. He's gone towards Nidalee's and Diana's, but hasn't looked incredibly comfortable on them, to be perfectly honest. So is it going to be Niski going back towards the more control mage style, or we get some sort of mix-up here with the Rumble taken away?
I wonder if... Yeah, the question is, do you lock in an AD carry here to guarantee yourself a strong bot side of the map for Rahel and Luon? Kaiser is something we've been seeing a lot from Rahel. You could assume that Ice is going to be the one playing it. Lucian, on the other hand, very likely going to be put in the mid lane from Niski. We haven't actually seen it so far from him in summer, but we know that he is a proficient Lucian.
Yeah, and I think basically the game plan here for SK is, look, we'll end up taking Sejuani or something that if that's not banned away by BDS into the jungle. We still have our AP heavy style coming through from Irrelevant, so we should be okay. And it means that then you're still able to play these double AD carry picks, but I am curious to start to move on through what that game plan is going to be, because if I'm BDS, I definitely start to target things like the Sejuani jungle, maybe even the Vi as well, just to try and get Isma away from some of these comfort picks.
Track that a little bit closer, because again, Isma's champion pool, I know it's something that we're going to kind of unpack a little bit. And what his champion pool is currently doing for SK. One of them taken away is the Vi setup that comes through when this team does need more follow-up CC, right, on top of the Rel. What else do we need to look at here as SK start thinking about what solo laners need to be taken away if that is not going to be an Ezreal mid?
Yeah, with the not already banned away, Cassante could be a solid option for
Good
SK.
call.
But right now they're looking at mids. They want to try and limit Nuke's pool. Of course, there's always the possibility that this Ezreal could be put into the mid lane, but wouldn't surprise me if something like the Corki was also taken away from the side of SK if they just want to try and narrow down the mid lane options. Sejuani is the natural follow-up from the Vi, really limiting any sort of hard CC from the jungle role. Both Vi and Sejuani can do a great job of locking down the Ezreal, which has now been mitigated. So Ice, assuming that he is playing this champion, is going to have a lot of freedom in the lane.
I'm curious how Isma wants to try and approach this, because there is always an angle for a Poppy here as well, with the amount of, you know, denying Rakan, denying Maokai engage and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But as Hysteric's already said, I think you do want some sort of follow-up engage,
Victor,
or something along the lines. So I think you still need that for SK.
What patch are we on, Vidius?
14-15.
Yeah,
I don't
well
remember any Victor changes, but I'm assuming that there's some solo queue tech that's been going on that, in any case, SK showcasing some element of prep in terms of what Nuke has been cooking in the mid lane. Is this going to be the Yone lock-in for Nuke? We've been seeing it rise in popularity all across the world. It's a very powerful champion.
This again.
did get some buffs. Also, I think that she's a champion that can do very well into many AD mid lane matchups, especially the miasma, limiting the mobility that these AD carry mids often take advantage
Now, you're going to have to help me. Was it the Fnatic series in the upper bracket that we saw this? Because, again, we have already seen this at least in playoffs. And to correct myself, I believe it was actually the set playoffs. I've already worked. Don't worry, Dagda. It's fine. We've already seen this. This was Nuke's speciality. And seeing it again against a dashing mid, I'm excited. We can break that down further, but for now, both of you gentlemen were alluring to the fact that for Rahel, the Kai'Sa is one of his favorites, sets up nicely with this role support.
It does mean when you get into team fights, like you are going to be relatively short range with the Lucian and that Kai'Sa. You can play some poke with Cullinan and the Void missiles, but you're kind of playing into the hands and extended team fights into this Cassiopeia. So I'm kind of surprised they're continuing on towards the dive.
Whoa.
Especially with the Nocturne. Now, Isma was a very proficient Nocturne player coming in from EMEA Masters. It was his signature pick. We're going to have to see how we can do here, but I'm not sure on the coming into this draft from BDS thus far.
I'm curious as to how BDS, I was going to say Casante's probably the likely blind. He's just the kind of fits-all champion. Works in most comps. It is Adam's most played so far of summer and season finals as well. He's just been playing it a lot, and it is, of course, very safe. So BDS going for what you would describe as a very traditional teamfight composition. Got scaling mid laner, scaling AD carry, relatively weak laning phase for the bot side of the map for BDS. Also, their top side is very prone to getting pushed in. So SK should have a lot of luxury. I would imagine the early levels to the Lucian should be able to bully out that Cassio as well, because she can be relatively mana-starved, even if she does go for an early tier. So SK have a lot of lanes that they can play around, but I agree with you when you kind of look at this composition, Dagda, you sit there and think to yourself, well, they do have elements of dive. I see Rumble, Nocturne, Kai'Sa, I can see that working. Lucian also relatively short range alongside the Kai'Sa. Their siege might be a little bit difficult, but ultimately they do want to get into the face of their opposition. But Maokai, Cassio, these champions love it when you close the gap against them, because then they get to utilize all of their utility and damage. So yeah, I have mixed opinions definitely on this SK.
A lot of no buttons, I think, is what I'll take from the back of that as well, right? A lot of no buttons that come from BDS, where a lot of the Cassio that comes into the context of that no button that stops dashes, that stops jump-ins for the engage tools that SK will be relying on.
I think there is a lot of ways to try and like avoid team fights though as SK here, where if you get a lead with Niski, if you get a lead with Irrelevant, try and play through sides, use Isma's ultimate to then dive on towards those sides if people are overextended, or look for picks and jungles. So I think there is ways for SK to try and play around it, but it does heavily rely on them getting an early lead, and I think that's where SK need to put their foot down in these early stages.
Well, as we get into game, guess what? You can clap, you can cheer, you can get excited for SK BDS. But we have a pause! Yoo! Okay, it's resuming. Never mind, we're getting into game. BDS.
You sound less excited about the fact that the game is resuming.
No, I definitely prefer this than the pause. But again, I said before, it's exciting and it's sad. Vedius got confused, but I can elaborate for you further. The loser here is out, and BDS SK, at multiple points in the year, we were saying things like, whoa, SK are like our third best team. Oh, this team could be consistently top 3, as we saw in their playoffs runs, or at least their attempts at the end to split. And then with BDS, we're assuming that this team is also going to be outside the realms of G2 Fnatic. But one of them goes home. One of them, the year just ends again with such a break and such a gap before they can play in 2025.
I mean, let's not forget that at the end of the summer split, these two teams were tied at the top of the table, 8-1.
Yep.
Oh.
We're full invading, aren't we? For Sheo and Nuke, I mean, level 1, it's a Noxious Blast for the Cassiopeia, so no Twin Fang, which means Nuke has to flash away. All he can do is Q and buy time, but getting the flash out of the mid Cassio, that's one way to start off for SK.
You also see Adam looking for the reset in top side, so is there a potential now? I wasn't sure if they're going to try and lane swap off the back of that just to try and get Adam out of this bad matchup, but nice job from SK getting in, getting that burnt flash from Nuke. Isma will be a little low on his clear, but I'd still take that every day of the week.
I think the main idea there is to just punish the flashless Adam, right? Just head up towards the top side of the map, take advantage of the fact that if he's kind of sleeping at the wheel in game 1, maybe they can find a quick pick. They end up getting a flash out from Nuke, which should allow Niski to get this early prio. We need to come back to that point, because this priority is going to be very important when it comes to the early laning phase. One thing I will say is that Nocturnes, I think, haven't been super impressive in the LEC.
True.
He's a champion that is in a way, very high risk, high reward because he's quite one-dimensional in that he goes in, and then once he's in, he's not coming out. And so coordination is super important, but also something that Dagda mentioned is attacking sides is super important. Once you get level 11, once you get a lot of cooldown knocked off the ultimate, it's a very effective tool at attacking these side lanes. And hang on.
Ooh, Labrov in a bit of trouble. The Ignite comes down. That's a great trade from Rahel and Luon. Labrov will have pots to heal up, and remember, he did take heal into this battle as well.
And it feels like Rahel and Luon are kind of coming back to form. We saw in their last series, they had that solo, duo kill in that bot lane as well. So I think this is where my eyes are going to be looking to see how Ice and Labrov do fend this off, because Ice had a little bit of a dodgy time the last series that he played. So,
like it.
So I'm looking forward to seeing him trying to get back to form here, as well as Adam takes a lot of damage.
Good trade.
I mean, GV and Finn showcased some of the stats differences.
Yep.
Rumble versus Cassante is going to do a lot for relevant stats. I can tell you that right now. This matchup is not a fun one, but Adam running the exhaust should give him some outplay potentials later as Isma makes his way into BDS's side of the jungle. Luon already on his way up as Labrov tries to assist.
Remember as well, there is a summoner difference. Ignite was put down by Luon, so this becomes a 2v2. The heal will give a bit of sustain to Sheo as Smite comes down and he gets the Gromp. Blue buff, though, is the exchange, and Isma takes that away. So it's still a 1-for-1 trade, but he's got his full bot side jungle to clear, while now Sheo, one camp left remaining.
And it goes back to what Vedi was talking about. SK, prio mid, prio bot, use that to invade. Nicely done by Isma to just take advantage of those. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this try and continue. Is you can fall back into your own jungle here, take your camps, reset, and then try and contest those camps on the bot side as they respawn as well.
Honestly, this game is going to be a great indication of how much growth SK have actually made, because this is very similar to the game that they threw against KC. They had winning lanes across the board.
Flash burnt out already. Niski just jumps in.
I mean, he's got to respect it against Isma. But we'll see if they can leverage this early lane, convert it into an early lead, and then close out the game, because that is what they ultimately failed to do against KC in the first game, and then they ultimately ended up losing the series as a result.
Game 3 as well. They had a lead in every single one of those games, but couldn't find the success in the mid game, and it came back to bite them. So I think that's where I want to see that success, and kind of vice versa for BDS is going back to where BDS always felt like a team that even when they were down, were never out. They could find these big fights, they could find that moment to come back, but instead now it feels like they're kind of getting caught out at their objective setup instead.
BDS were the most frustrating team for that reason. It was class act in the mid game when they always found that fight, as you said, but it's always frustrating to be like, how did they find it? Again, without that reliability for BDS, it seems quite negative, but I'm glad we are talking a little bit about some of these win conditions, because again, for SK, since we haven't seen them for so long, as Sheo sneaks up to top side, but again, there's a ward up here for Irrelevant, so he's going to be fine. Again, we talk about the individual powerhouse, especially on SK's side. Irrelevant with the wave right now. I mean, he's been holding it here for a while, and you can see he's up about 5 CS as Adam just has to push and pull.
That's a good freeze off there, which is going to make it even more painful for Adam. They know Sheo's up here as well, which then opens up Isma to do whatever he wants, and you can already see the pings coming in from Sheo. He's like, I need to get to my bot side to defend my wolves that have just respawned, because chances are they're going to try and look for a bait, but the lanes aren't really in position for it yet.
Notice as well how Irrelevant not using his flame spitter on the wave at all. He's walking up and he's threatening with the harpoon. And then when he connects the first harpoon, Adam is forced to disengage, and that's when Irrelevant uses the flame spitter. So he's doing as much as he can to avoid passively chipping away at those minions so they can keep this freeze for as long as possible and keep the bullying up.
And Vedi, you know what I love about it as well, is we get a mid lane gank to pause. Isma flashes in, he's going to get a fear straight away. Good disengage from support, but it might not matter. First blood goes down, Niski capitalizes big, and they're on the board.
Great timing there. You can see Isma was like, that flash is still down. I know Nuke doesn't have it. So Isma able to get in, gets that fear off, and sets up perfectly for Niski to get that kill. Rise Boy Grub spawns.
The flash was just about to come up for Nuke. The timing was spectacular there for SK, and the play was nice. Support, Labrov did his best to try and keep his mid laner alive. Unfortunately, it just wasn't quite enough. 3 versus 2 just gives SK that advantage. Now look at the top of your screen, 1K. A lot of that sitting on the top laner and mid lane at the top side of the map, going very well within the first 6 minutes of the game for SK.
Seeing Niski in charge is also another breath of fresh air when we talk about SK and, you know, the carry that has been relied on. Even before Rahel and Luon were there, right? I think Niski had some beautiful splits throughout the year. We were talking to him about being one of the best mid laners in the league. Guys, I also want to mention that time we talked about at the start of the game is coming up. Level 6 is now here for Isma. He's just actually turned it, as you can see on the left side of your screen. So a lot of those go buttons, a lot of those big tempo ultis are now up and available for SK to try and advance the game further.
Top lane could be an option for SK. No flash on the Cassante, of course. As a champion, he has a lot of tools to avoid certain ganks, so even if he doesn't have the flash, he could very well still be safe. But with the equalizer used to him, irrelevant to quickly push this wave into it and grab himself a plate, it seems unlikely that that is going to be where they look for a gank. Either way, SK, as you rightly said, have a lot of options, and this is where BDS probably have to be the most cautious, because even though the story has mainly been about SK in this early game, it's because of all the prio that they have, it's the control of the waves. BDS just want to weather the storm, mitigate this deficit as much as they can, and about 2k gold deficit, that's kind of what you'd expect.
Yep.
And now they want to try and hold that and not allow it to get any bigger.
Yeah, and it's so hard for BDS to try and make a play, because even if you go bot, because Irrelevant is consistent in pushing, he can always TP to a bot lane play, and it's actually SK that are maybe starting things off as Isma is here to support Luon, but it looks like it's just going to be a dragon take, essentially using the fact that they do have that TP advantage for Irrelevant.
You see Lebrov is thinking about ways to maybe come in, pick off a source for the meantime, but Niski walks down, he's got everything up and available. BDS just hovering, but they're on vision. For now, SK, still too strong, still too comfortable. They get both 3 grubs and the first dragon of the game. That's BDS 7 before it's going as you'd expect, but for SK, that's good news.
Certainly is. SK should feel pretty happy with how things have gone so far. You kind of draw your eyes towards the top left of your screen. 2 minutes until the next grub spawn will be SK's next objective. In the meantime, they're going to continue to farm. You'd expect those first items to be completed in the near future as well. And BDS, their priority is just continue to scale. The easiest way, if you know very little about League of Legends, to identify a scaling composition is you look at the bottom of your screen and you'll see 2 tiers stacking on the side of BDS, and that's generally a good indication of we're just waiting. We'll see you guys in about 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, I think they're just going to take it easy, and I think it then becomes a case of how do SK break this, and a lot of that is going to be, well, Void Grubs now in a minute 20, let's try and play for that, see if you can get push on mid, so then you can secure that, use that opportunity then to start chipping away at some of these turrets, see if you can get turret plates, but I think the big one is going to be that Rift Herald.
Yep.
If you can start to crack open off the back of the pressure that you, or crack open turrets off the back of the pressure you've already created, that is where SK can actually start to snowball this game effectively and look to play in towards those side lane opportunities.
And I know there's someone on our desk who had an identity of being a Nocturne mid main for quite a long time. Now,
true.
I don't know if that's changed. You said Akali's your favorite now or something.
Well, actually, Nocturne was never my favorite champion.
Well, you shouldn't say that live, but
he was
okay.
just he was just what I used to climb the ladder, because he was OP as hell, and then they nerfed his passive, and he wasn't OP in mid anymore.
And you know, I had a really good question to ask you, and I've completely forgotten it because I was kind of disappointed the fact you don't play it anymore.
I still know everything there is to know about Nocturne.
First couple of ults crucial. We know that. That's the first tick, right? But we also know opening up mid.
Food.
Sorry?
Favorite food.
Favorite food?
Yeah.
He doesn't eat.
Doesn't he?
Nope, because he's like a monster of shadow.
So he doesn't mean he
Doesn't
can't
have a
eat.
digestive system.
Maybe he eats light.
He maybe devours souls, but I don't know if he like sustains himself off of
Okay,
them.
well, good question from Dagda. I was going to say something game-related and say that once turrets open up, once the map and you get deep vision, Vetty, it feels like that's a very good place to start in a very easy way to exemplify your lead.
Yeah, so the problem with SK's comp is that they are relatively short range. So sieging is a difficult thing for them to do. But
Right.
sieging is not the priority right now. It is going to be these grubs. Keeping my eyes on the minimap to see if BDS is even in a position to contest, and I don't think that they are,
they're
but...
TPing.
They think they are at the very least. I mean, Adam, remember, has to run in with only exhaust. Paranoia comes through. Trisha Braz flies in, but does nothing. But for now, they get them off the zone of grubs as Isma jumps back on in. The equalizer down as well. The Shattering Strike lines them up. The Magnet Storm zones them in. The Petrifying Gaze sets them out, though. BDS have weathered the storm at least at the start of the fight, but the problem is Niski is cleaning up. Pro was looking for his 1000th kill, but he's gone above and beyond as he flashes out and gets out of the back end of the fight. As Ice and Sheo getting chased down by this angry, light-eating monster. No wonder Vetty played it. It cleans house.
SK decimate BDS at those Void Grubs. It was a decent up from Sheo to start, but you just could not stop the onslaught. Niski secures his 1000th LEC kill.
Absolutely crazy team fight for SK. I mean, the priority of BDS ended up putting them in a very awkward position where I just want you to see and keep track of Irrelevant's ultimate. So the Rumble is coming in from the bottom of the river, a lot of attention turns onto the Nocturne, and then look at this Rumble ultimate, initially connecting onto 3, and then the Rel ultimate to combo it does so much damage to Nuke. He then flashes away, at the very least he's able to trade his life for the AD carry, but Irrelevant is now completely untouched. All of this damage is free to just tear BDS apart, and then the chase down comes through. I think BDS is target focused. They just weren't clear on how best to execute this fight. And you got to remember, finding a Rumble at this point in the game always going to be a dangerous thing to do.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, this is a position where SK are just significantly stronger than you. They didn't have to stop off for the tiers that Fetty was talking about earlier. You've got a Rumble that's already in a great spot. It was a bizarre position for BDS to feel like they needed to fight. Like, sure, try and stop some of the Void Grubs, but you take away one, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, and you've just put yourself so heavily behind when it comes to that gold.
I imagine the idea was that they realized that they were obviously bleeding a lot, right? And so they wanted to try and stop the bleeding as much as they could, and maybe they thought that they could catch SK off guard. But
that went great for them.
Yeah, it didn't work out. But I mean, this is the risk, right? Ultimately, if you go too far into the scaling end, a team that knows how to leverage these early leads can build these very significant gold advantages and really snowball the game. So SK beginning to do that. Obviously, this is only the first step of this composition.
Yep.
Building leads, you could argue, is the easy part. The hard part is being able to convert that lead into a victory.
True.
But nothing really to criticize SK for so far. They played a clean early game. Their laning phase has been good. They found a nice gank in mid lane, punishing Nuke's lack of flash. And now Nocturne, when he turns to level 11, that ultimate is going to be up that much more often, and flashless champions become easy targets, especially with the setup that SK have.
And you've 2 accelerated solo laners. 3 kills on towards both. They're going to be so strong when it comes to being able to dictate the pace of a side lane. And if you ever get them low, great, Isma, come in over the top. You just finish off whoever's low, and suddenly we have a numbers advantage on the map. This is a great spot for SK to be in. All they really need to do now is look towards that Rift Tower that's about to spawn, try and knock down some of these turrets so they can really open up the map and allow Isma to play through that strip.
Well, as teleport comes down bot, you can see BDS again. We've used the terminology of weathering the storm, but they're trying to get some of the push out here as they commit more and more members. But it is going to be a trade up topside, and remember, they've got 4 grubs on the side of SK2 as plating has just fallen down, but Niski does good damage. Cullen comes through, Luon is here and just helps out with a bit of damage on turret himself. Here comes the Paranoia too. Luon still tanking up, buying time, but the dive is not complete. Gets a little bit messy at the end as they just need to finish Adam off.
He has the TP though, and he's going to use it to get away to safety.
Bye.
SK don't quite find the kill that they were looking for, but they do get all the summoners out from Adam, and they'll get the tower, which was their primary target, alongside the Herald, which is going to be massive for opening up this mid tower. We talked about how SK's range is relatively short with the Lucian and the Kai'Sa. To go underneath the tower against the Cassio is a very scary thing to do. This Herald is going to make it that much easier to break that open, and then talk about what you were talking about earlier, Hysterics, which is have access to the jungle, and then subsequently those side lanes.
Plus, I feel like not having teleport available now for any of your side lanes for BDS, no response, no matching, no denial for the trades. Like, I think, again, we can praise SK for the overall plays. They pick up the Herald, and we start counting down that Dragon timer that will lead them to Soul Point. We start looking for that enveloping a vision that starts getting deeper and deeper as well.
And I like the way SK have opened up on the map. They shifted Niski down to that bottom lane because Irrelevant is going to be able to push in that top side. And Irrelevant on a potential dive, being able to use that ultimate to zone away members is going to be crucial if BDS try and defend that mid lane tower when you go for that Rift Tower play. So I think at the moment, SK setting up nicely for a mid game, which has been criticized in the past.
All good for now. It's only the start, and again, in this best of 5. I was hoping for a doozy, I was hoping for a banger that went back and forth, and I was honestly hoping for the best of BDS today as well, which again, their comp sets them up to do. It's a classic BDS comp, like a broken record. This Herald gets dropped down in the mid lane, but hey, I'm happy to ride this Herald right into the mid lane turret if I'm SK, because the damage they do right now with Niski, although short range we talked about, at least it's still being done as the turret won't fall, but it gets close.
I think they were a little bit preemptive with that, because you could see in the top side, Irrelevant hadn't really pushed in, so it meant that BDS were able to shift Adam down. There was no pressure really on the bottom side either, so Nuke was able to come across. So BDS were able to defend it, so you don't quite get the tower, but it is so low. Another play from SK should be able to take that down, but I think this is where, again, just a little bit of patience could have helped out SK.
I wonder if SK will turn their attention to the bot tower. Right now they're keeping Irrelevant top. Of course, he does have that TP. But with the vision set up and the resets coming through, it looks like Misty's just going to catch this wave. And SK's priority right now is going back to base, spending a little bit more of that gold. Replenish on the control wards and be ready for the ensuing dragon fight. Objective control really has been extraordinary so far from SK. They've really leveraged their pushing lanes. We haven't seen... I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I don't think a Nocturne ultimate has been needed based on what we've seen so far, but you could always argue that, sure, there's room for him to be able to use that more often. But right now, I have no major criticisms. BDS are ultimately just kind of waiting for a mistake from SK. Maybe they can find a pick, maybe they can find a misstep in terms of the execution. If they can steal away a dragon, that would already be a huge step in just delaying the game.
I do love how the X-Nocturne main is, there's always room for Nocturne.
There's always room for an ult.
But I think in the position that they're in, again, you're kind of in a weird spot here as SK. Nisqy needs to move down to try and catch this wave and push it out. BDS had a nicer back timing, so are able to get out onto the map and start to shove these waves in. So should be able to get vision down, although Lebrov looking for a reset himself, so will be at a numbers disadvantage on the map for the moment.
You know what I do hate when we're speaking about vision, though? The fact that Maokai does counter some of the points. You know, Maokai vision with saplings is another reason why he's so relevant, so powerful at the moment. And it's frustrating when you're like, okay, SK now are looking for river priority because 20 seconds till Dragon. Sheo spots them out, and SK doing their due diligence, clearing away the vision they can get rid of. As wards galore, you can see surrounding the area while Rahel waits for mid lane wave.
They're losing a lot of gold on this bottom side, though. That's two waves now that are about to hit into that bot lane turret. And Nisqy should have moved down to try and collect that, but now with Dragon spawning BDS, just going to try and play it slow here, so should win off of gold if this fight goes their way as well.
Luon trying to come in on the flank. Sheo is wary of it. Nuke has the miasma to deny that.
On with the flash available as well, waiting for a Magnet Storm. Irrelevant, just sitting on the back, thinking about that equalizer as well. 3k now as Nature's Grasp is out. Luon flash, Magnet Storm hits nothing! Absolutely nothing! And guess what? Sheo gets a dragon! Luon's gonna die. Zizma on the back end is taken down by Adder, or at least close to it. The three-man knock-up, a BDS team fight! The petrifying gaze has us stunned!
It's a phenomenal team fight from BDS. Just like that, the whole game has been flipped on its head. This was the type of opportunity they were looking for, and it's Nuke's Cassio that gets BDS a triple kill.
Classic.
It's the BDS speciality, man.
Dagda with a sigh.
It's
Lovely.
so good to see the team fighting with Spectacular. They'd set up the waves well. They'd gone for a reset timing that set them up so they could get out on the map, set up their vision, get that bot wave pushed in, and puts pressure onto SK on the game state to actually make something happen. And then Luon tries his damnedest, but there's no follow-up at all there. He completely whiffs because the Nocturne ult means he can't see anything. The Irrelevant ult follows up as well, goes completely wide, and then watch the Lebrov here. The flash in, the triple knock-up, the follow-over flash from Nuke with that Cassiopeia means that then they're able to just tear through the members of SK.
Like, it's important to remember that BDS's comp is very much about team fighting, right? So if you can find that right angle, you chain your CC together and you just avoid that initial dive, SK become very limited on what they can actually do to respond, partially because of their range, but also because they're very reliant on these type of combos with Rel and the Rumble, maybe even the culling, chunking someone out, the Kai'Sa being able to use the dive. All of that was largely used defensively. And again, this idea, one of the high-level Nocturne things you can do is you create that fog of war so that your teammates can find angles. We see it all the time with Nico, we've seen it with cannons, right? The whole idea is to find that flank, and Luon tried to leverage that, but if you don't connect, then the team fight never really comes through.
And I come back to what you guys were saying, not only the fact that BDS were buying their time, but now as they siege through mid, that this team, you know, at 2-3 items starts becoming more and more impactful, that the Dragon denial would also slow down the game. They've caught back up in gold. And the final thing that I remember, because again, I do listen to you guys, whether you doubt that or not.
Occasionally.
Occasionally, most of the time, is that you told me that again, if there were only a couple of K down coming into the mid game, that things would be all right. And BDS are only 1,000 gold down now, sieging mid, opening up, even finding a play with a charm down as well with Luon dying, paranoia into the backline, but Isma's alone. The equalizer comes afterwards, and now Sheo's getting burnt from the wing, but it's not enough damage. They've run out of range, and they are getting punished. Rahel runs in with a killer instinct, and even though Petrifying Gaze doesn't connect from Nuke, BDS are doing more than enough here in this game one that's turned on its head.
It's desperation from SK trying to find something back. Those low health bars were so tantalizing, but they just can't quite get the damage in ice. Starts to land a bit of hits onto Niski, but still BDS. They get the mid lane turret. They got that big wave pushed in bot, and they're going to be able to come out back onto the map in a great spot here.
The truth is that SK should try and avoid fighting. They should be trying to attack these side lanes. Dagda talked about it right from the draft, which is that when you have a Lucian who's as strong as he was, you should be trying to punish the fact that Adam doesn't have a flash. You should be trying to catch this Cassio on a side lane when she doesn't have that much mobility. Nocturne Lucian can be a very effective duo at just killing single targets. And trying to force these 5v5s in this situation, I mean, obviously, the Maokai ultimate over the wall, great execution for BDS to secure an easy objective. The thing that surprised me was Isma actually diving in and believing there was any realistic way of a follow-up. I think it's too hard. SK don't have the CC to lock down an Ezreal and a Rakan. So, yeah, I think if SK keep falling into the trap of going for these 5v5s, it's going to be a difficult game for them. But I still think there's ways that SK can win.
Definitely are, but I mean, maybe shoring... I'd love to hear what communication sounds like. Because again, a relevance ult comes in afterwards, doesn't it? Isma dives in, as you're saying, Betty. And there's a lot to break down from these past couple of fights, where for SK now, they've lost that gold edge, and one thing is for sure, BDS are equal at the 23-minute mark. I'm seeing 2-item Ezreal heading on to 3. I'm seeing a 3-item Cassiopeia, no boots. But I'm seeing Rod of Ages now fully stacked as well, and Nuke is in a very good spot with a bounty on his head to boot.
And it's a bit of an early reset from BDS coming up to Dragon. Means that they're able to get a ton of vision in the spot side jungle. Adam should be able to make his way back.
Is there enough damage? Culling says maybe yes. I mean, Niski on top of him, but Adam survives for now with 2 items on his head too.
But you're seeing exactly what we're talking about, right? Yeah, I mean, Niski is doing a good job here. I think that they need to keep him isolated in the side lane as much as they can so that he can try and do some serious damage to these outer towers. Of course, Irrelevant is forced to play defensively on the bot side of the map, and Niski now respects, okay, I've spent a lot of time here. We don't have that much control. I need to back off. But this is the type of play that I want to see more from SK.
It also draws BDS up to that top side because they have to protect Adam, which might actually give SK a bit of an opportunity to lean in towards the river if they want to. They have... left Niski up on that top side though, so it may just be a trade on Dragon for that top tier 2, which I like from SK. I think use the fact you have those early dragons in your favor, but it's always risky giving this many Infernal Dragons over to the enemy team.
They do like stats, especially on that Ezreal, on that Cassiopeia. As you guys were saying, SK gonna isolate top. At least getting the inner turret is a trade, a gold trade at that, but right now, we're looking towards the Baron sitting there and waiting for one more mistake, and already mentioned the Dragon stats that will lead to a third for either of these teams next.
Ultimately, BDS find themselves in a very comfortable spot in the game. You guys have already ran through all the itemization that we see on our screen.
Yes, we did.
And it becomes a neutral point now where Baron becomes obviously a key objective, trying to steal away each other's camps by prodding and pushing into the enemy side of the map. Skeet, fishing.
Yeah, he is indeed. I mean, Labrov just gets on out, but he's got Shayo to support him with Adam walking down too.
But again, now it's BDS that have the waves in their control. It's their turn to move into SK side of the jungle, and Isma needs to blast Cone out to safety.
Oof, okay, just in the nick of time.
And it becomes significantly harder for Isma to find these moments to use the ultimate now. You want to be in the lead, so you're the one drawing BDS around the map. And in the group up, what does Isma do? They're just being zoned off.
I like their siege a lot better. Not just because of Maokai, but again, I guess it helps when you have a little bit more range in your kit, as Adam is going to TP to save mid, so that said siege can't work for SK.
And Rahel just has to back off. They know that BDS can come through the jungle and collapse on the mid, so BDS managed to hold on to a lot. You can look at Isu. Imagine's going to go collect that bot wave and just say, actually, they're going to send Adam to collect that. But overall, BDS, they find that one window of opportunity, and now it's a slow, controlled game for them trying to close this one out.
And it's... if you assume that everyone is playing perfectly, and they find themselves in a team fight, you would just give BDS the advantage, right?
Yep.
Which is why, if you were to have like a meter as to like who had the advantage in this game, then it'd be scaling significantly towards BDS, because it feels like we're getting closer to things like a Baron is going to be the key objective, a Dragon is going to be the next thing that these teams fight over. So SK need to find a pick. They need to punish BDS, catch them off guard, catch them in a rotation. Just be careful about situations like this. Nuke does have the TP available.
Poke lands from Ice on the back end. Luan has Warmogs, and I believe activation is there with Celestial Blessing as well. So for now, he'll be okay. But BDS continue to envelop the side of the jungle and clear out vision, while Baron starts getting more and more ghostly with not a blue ward in sight.
Yeah, they do have to be a little careful, because turning off the lights by Nocturne also makes it a little bit more difficult for Nuke to try and teleport into a good situation.
True, that's a good point.
I did get a little nervous when they're that pushed up, but especially with the flash with Luan ups, but SK not willing to pull the trigger just yet. They continue to get pushed back, but I think it is just kind of a hang on, wait for BDS. Like, we know we can just play for objectives, and they don't want to overextend at any point in time.
Rahel is very close to ticking over to 15, but Ice is just as close to ticking over to 16. Now the Baron is being started. Cassio, as we know, a very fast Baron taker, and SK have no information. They see nothing.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, Luan will be first to charge in. Now the blue ward's there. Paranoid, as you said so rightfully, Dagda turns off the lights. Nature's Grasp zones out again. He's trying to fly on in, looking for the steal, but he's rooted midway. Ain't no steal with a smite in play as BDS lock it down, but Nuke already dying. Shows that SK might have something in the fight, but they're poked out. The range too much, and SK, they have to get out before they stay in the way of Ice.
They execute the dive by getting the kill onto Nuke, which is a good way to start the fight, but they can't continue it. The Baron has been lost. Ice has a lot of safety and protection and has a lot of HP, which means that SK, with all of their tools now used, will be happy with a kill, but ultimately the Baron dropping means another tower falls.
And especially with a minute until Dragon, you get to reset, use that Baron buff as BDS to push in waves and deny access to SK to the river. So nicely done by BDS. And I mean, SK, at this stage, they know something's up. You can see the blue ward goes down, but there's little that they can do. The ultimate from Maokai buys some space, but Isma ends up having to send himself in, can't actually get in for the smite, and Rahel does get the kill on towards Nuke, but there's so much damage coming through from Ice and even from Adam in this situation that SK just have to turn tail and get on out of there.
Just like every time I watch Adam, he becomes slightly more unkillable as well. And remember that Irrelevant didn't have the Rabadons before that fight. Picked it up afterwards too, so one element taken away as SK now look for something in the bush. But they get a Bindi, they walk out, they have to pull that out, and for now, 20 seconds till the Infernal Dragon comes out, and this will be the third one. BDS walking in, remember again, the fights have been good for them so far, but the culling from Niski says, hey Lebrov, what do you reckon? As SK now repositioning the river, but BDS are finding an angle.
Notice that SK have completely abandoned the mid-wave. They're willing to sacrifice it to give themselves access to this dragon. It's Adam that's zoning Irrelevant away from the flank, who has secured level 16. All 3 points in the ultimate. Rahel's going to push out bot. This objective, again, it's kind of BDS's playground here. SK need to find that pick.
If SK lose this fight, that could be game.
Boy.
BDS can just run down mid.
Noxious Blast slows it down. Paranoia there as well. Trisha Brush misses this time as Luan gets a Shattering Strike, but the Nature's Grasp again tries to find a target, but it's enough to zone away. The power of Maokai, ladies and gentlemen, is again shown.
Yeah, it was so risky for SK, because if they actually lose this fight, there's a wave in mid, BDS can run it down and in, but now Niski might be dead.
Twisted Advance is a lock on, he's charmed up, easy again, Equalizer. Turns it around though as BDS start burning down, but not before they get the kill. Rahel has to flash away because Ice is turning and burning his own. That feels like a real rumble as Adam gets soloed. Hell, what? Cassante, again.
And that's three members. Three members only end up dropping, but that's going to be enough with the Baron, and BDS is back. They set their sights on the base, and they're looking to secure game one.
What a turn of events. I mean, it's been a strange game, hasn't it? Because SK's dominance in the early game, we were talking them up for the first 15 minutes, but all it took was a classic BDS fight, a classic BDS turn. Knowing their comp well, and I think, again, playing their comp damn well too, is SK getting aggressed on for their Nexus turret. I'm not sure if it's going to end here, but at least with mid turret being harassed too. They'll have double inhibitor down. Irrelevant and Rahel will respawn, but this game feels very much in the bin, much like it has for the past 15.
Because all you have to do as BDS now is 5-man top, Sheo ults the tower, and everyone in SK has to completely disappear, because you can just see how strong it is in this fight.
Ski just overstays a little too long, uses the E, which means that Maokai can set up the play. He's forced to flash out, and the Rumble ultimate is good, but the defenses that they have, like, this is a great example of the range being such a big problem, right? SK just can't really commit to the fight. And Adam, meanwhile, gets a solo kill onto Irrelevant on the top side.
It wasn't even close.
And we kind of set up the story from draft where it's like, okay, SK have a composition that is inherently hard to play. You have to leverage your early game strength, and you have to snowball off the line priority that you have. And up until 19 minutes into the game, it was their game. But that a single fight is all it takes to swing the entire thing. And BDS, they kept it simple, they kept it clean, and they were able to turn this game around at the drop of a hat.
Because something I loved, we were talking about during the week when, you know, all casters have their lovely picnic party and we sit down and we talk about the teams, was we're talking about SK and their individuality, right? Their strength. This comp reflects that really well, I think. And again, plays into the strengths that Niski, Irrelevant have in their laning phase, Rahel and Luon have brought to the team. We've got that individuality, but it is, again, just the burden of execution and the mistake that has really punished them at the start of this series.
But that's the thing, it's been the coordination that has had SK struggle, and now it feels very much like it doesn't matter what LFL team it is, Karmine Core, or if it's BDS, they're going to struggle to close out when they get these early leads.
Jack, I don't know if they'll like you for that. They are Swiss as we go for Luon on the backside, and there's a good lockdown, at least set up this time, but who's going to get on in? Rahel's exhausted immediately in BDS. It just feels like there's not enough damage to contend with them right now. Irrelevant burns, cooks, but that guy's going in the bin. You do not eat burnt toast, and BDS know it. Game one's going to end with a triple kill going over to Ice. And it might not be the hyper carry, but I still see a true carry on the 80 carry once again for BDS in game one.
Ice looks spectacular. BDS having a phenomenal comeback fight, and they will take game number 1 from SK.
I mean, BDS, they don't do anything overcomplicated, right? They draft a scaling composition.
Well said.
They concede the early laning phase. And they went for one dangerous fight around the grubs, which could have cemented their demise. But ultimately, they were able to punish the fact that SK couldn't set up the fights properly. And they lead the series 1-0.
Well, it's a good opener at least past the 15-minute mark, but we'll see if SK can bounce back and hold on to their lead running into game 2 of this elimination series.
Done.
There we go.
Break?
Break.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Red Bull gives you wings.
as he flushes out and gets out of the back end of the fight. As Ice and Sheo getting chased down by this angry, light-eating monster. No wonder Benny played it. It cleans house.
BQ, triple Q.
Nice, well played.
Well played, Seo, baby. Nice mind. Oh my god. Well played. Well played, guys. Okay, guys. They're really bad, okay? I think, yeah. They can only win by chasing level 1 and shit like this, so let's be careful level 1. Yeah, level 1 was... It's okay, it's okay.
Welcome back to the desk as BDS opens up the score with some strong words here against SK 1-0 in the series. Finn, you had some arguments for BDS on top of what Adam just said right now. Anything you want to comment on here?
I mean, everything I said kind of came true. We had a great objective control. Despite the rough early game, we had the really good team fighting from the Labrov and the Sheo. And we also had Adam, despite laning, always being more useful than irrelevant. So I think it all came true in my prophecy.
It's crazy how BDS came back to being the team they were at the beginning of the year, fumbling the early game completely to clutching some team fights.
Yeah, I think it's a big change compared to where we saw them last week. And I think a lot of it does rest on how they drafted this week as well. Because last week we saw Ice being put in this really weird hole of MF, Jin, and Ziggs. And what we said then and what we've talked about this entire week was, why don't you just put Ice on a carry? And obviously Ezreal, one of the best carries in the game right now, picked up early here by BDS, and then they could form this composition around him where he has 2 good frontline tanks, he has some CC, and he has the ability to pop off in fights. And even though he wasn't the one making the flashy plays, he was definitely the one cleaning up.
Yeah, and no one could touch him, actually, Finn, when you look at the later stages of the game. I would like you to tell me why it makes sense to BDS, to see BDS on a composition like this, but also on the side of SK, we like the approach in the early game, but could it take them much further than this?
I mean, obviously, when you draft the Rumble, he's going to have a lot of control. And I think actually Relevant had a really good laning phase. He actually put a lot of pressure, pulled Sheo top so he could get leads on the other side of the map. But we have this come from BDS where they have the double tank and double tank, double carry, and support. Yeah. So basically, whoever, as long as the Cassio and Ezreal are not playing together on the same area, then they can only combo one of them. So hopefully the other guy will carry. And I think they kind of showed it pretty well, despite being behind early.
Yeah, they really did. I think when you look at the game, it's kind of split into 2 halves, right? You have before the 3rd dragon fight and after the 3rd dragon fight. And what we saw was SK, when they could set up first on an objective and have BDS walking into them, a lot of the time they could find these good engages. They could put the paranoia down, Luon could find a good flank with the Rel. But as soon as that started collapsing, the team doesn't have enough CC and is too squishy to deal with the carries on the side of BDS.
Yeah, and I really felt that when BDS wasn't panicking around its objectives and actually took their time to walk up, they checked every bush with the Ezreal Q, the Rakan slowly whittled his way in, then they actually had these even positions where their comp can execute as they want. Because as we saw in the first Herald fight, they actually just panicked and just rushed in. The Rel got a really massive engage on the Rumble ult and the entire comp fell apart.
I want to take a look at this fight actually, the fight on grabs in the early game, because when I look at BDS, it really felt like they were spectating their early game, but I'm guessing you're not worried when you know you're going to be able to play around SK's weaknesses later on. Tell me about this fight.
I mean, I think they were pretty worried in the early game, I'll be honest, Lord. Like, you could see here, they were stepping forward thinking, we can contest. They did this at one of the earlier Drakes as well, but because of the paranoia, SK just had so many options to funnel them in. Put the equalizer down, you get the slow, the Magnet Storm follows up, you can't see the Rel engaging. So when BDS were kind of funneling themselves in, when they were stepping into these choke points, it became so much easier for SK to find fights like this.
Funnel really is the right word. It's like a sink where the water just torpedoes down. It was just like all went into the same area and all the AoE hit at the same time and they just all got one-shots.
And it's crazy, as you said it, Medic, there was 2 sides of the coin this game. The SK early game and BDS taking the agency, and it just took 1 fight for them to reverse everything and grab the control of this game. And GB is going to tell us all about this.
I certainly am. Maybe it should have been Finn talking about all these strengths over here for BDS, but I'll do him a favor and go through it myself. So as they rightfully broke down already, SK were ahead in the early game, and they probably should have used their early game lead a lot better. But in a certain dragon fight, they're not really using their objective control that great. First of all, let's have a look at all the vision that SK has gotten themselves around this Drake right now with a leading position. That's it right now. That ward right there is all they currently have going for them. But if you, on the other hand, look at all the vision that BDS have been able to get for themselves, they have 2 great wards right here to know where the SK members are going to be. Even though Irrelevant has his own pink ward, they've already seen him walk through into the bush, so they know he's around over here. they also have very good vision on Luon to know which direction he's going to go in. But more importantly as well, the main guy I want you to look at is going to be Labrov. So what do we do in a situation like this, where you are suddenly the one who needs to find the engage? You could try and go around, but you got Irrelevant who's going to cover that. Or you could utilize Adam to use him as your E target and then actually go for the team fight itself. So as we play it out, you can see that SK has already forfeited so much of the Dragon area. Adam is just putting them away. Labrov not on vision until the last moment, and here we go. The fight comes through, Luon goes in, he was on vision the entire time. And although there is a paranoia, it kind of looks like SK is the team who's gotten paranoia on them right now. You have 3 members over here who's not able to do anything, and Luon's all by himself in the middle of it all. So even though SK was the team with a gold lead, who had the tools to initiate a fight, they gave up all the space around this Drake, and it eventually ended up with being BDS just cleaning them up. So that hard work that SK had been spending in the early game of using Irrelevant's lead in the top side, of using Nuke with no flash from the early game and then killing him to getting grobs, just did not matter. So going into the future now for SK, what we really like to see is some better team fighting tools for them to allow themselves to set themselves up for success around these objectives. Now, it is time to find out how SK can come back in this series, so casters, take it away.
Thank you very much, GB. Nice breakdown. I mean, we didn't have to wait too long in that first game, or at least the start of the series, for BDS to open up with their trademark team fight. Very unlike you still waiting for an apology from Mark. That's Vedius. This is Dagda. I'm Asterix, and we're going to roll you into our second game and hopefully see an adaptation from SK.
We just...
well, the problem was, I mean, we had a much more fun intro where I wasn't pushing, I was pulling Vedi in.
Oh.
And without alluding to too much more, I'm going to save that because one day I will do that. It involved the fishing rod, and I'm very sad that we couldn't do it.
You're a strange individual.
Well,
which is a fascinating statement coming from the King of Cringe over here.
Are you the King of Cringe?
Well, I used to be.
I don't think you're that weird, Betty. You're
in any case, Misfortune not taken off the board. Zeri and Rel going to be banned from SK. So that respect is clearly there towards Labrov, but his Rakan still had a huge impact in some of the crucial fights for BDS in the previous game, so we'll see if he prioritizes that. When we look at some of the big picks, Rumble is once again, of course, open. BDS have already showcased that they're happy to let that one go. Ezreal and Maokai were what they prioritized in the previous game. So what will the focus here be from BDS?
I personally like the Ezreal priority because I feel like it just slots so well into every comp. Quite strong, but it's like, if you want to go for dive, cool, I've got self-peel. If the enemy is going for dive, cool, I can get away from that. I can set myself up so easily as the Ezreal, but we'll have to see what that priority is going to be as the Maokai is taken away. It's going to be the Sejuani instead.
Well, with the Maokai ban, I think that makes a lot of sense. Sheo is really fulfilling that role of I'm utility.
Yeah.
And one of the big conversations we had about BDS was them shifting more towards having those AP carry junglers.
Yeah, Morgana, Zyra.
And BDS have clearly just said, you know what, our priority is making sure that we have a style that works for us. And this is a tried and true BDS style. So let's see how SK now respond. With the Rumble likely being locked in once again for Irrelevant, what will they look to pair up with it this time? Will it be the Lucian once more? Or instead, will they consider something like the Yone? Do they want to run the risk of blind picking a Yone? Maybe they just grab the Ezreal for themselves.
To me, what's crazy in this series is Ezreal, a good point to mention, is that we haven't seen the same like Zyra priority, the brand priority in jungle. A lot of other regions still picking that up. Now remember, Aurora is globally disabled. That can't be picked up. So while there is a hover there, that can't be completed. But again, it's just been completely different priority overall. BDS now, we have to figure out where else they go next. We see Sejuani. Do we see Adam on a Renekton? Something that is also usually banned away in the first phase.
I think I'd like to see them go and take the Ashe, yeah, for Ice, because that was banned away in that first game. Incredibly strong pick from him. And then you take your support here. Leona could work out relatively well if you want to, but there is also an option to just go straight for the K'Sante and say, hey, look, we're just going to guarantee that matchup on the top side, rather than SK Gaming being able to ban it away on the next rotation.
I think back to the previous bans with the Azir Victor. In hindsight, I probably would have just foregone the Victor and just prioritized the K'Sante. Like, we were talking about it on draft and we considered it. Surprised that SK didn't really consider it I guess from a relevance perspective, he played the matchup extremely well, and the Cassandre wasn't necessarily a problem, so maybe they don't really worry about it. But the Corki being locked in is a very safe mid lane option for BDS. Also makes a lot of sense when we think about how Nuke's been playing so far this split. The question is, how do SK want to run out? Do they want to lock in their support, maybe the Leona? Does look like that's the direction that they're going to go. So now they can pinch the pool of supports even more, or they can pinch top lane. Question is, what do they think is a greater threat? I think, personally, you should ban away supports. Get rid of something like the Rakan, and I think Braum.
How are you going to ban away Adam as well, by the way? That's another point to consider when that dude has a champion Ocean.
Yeah, I think Nautilus could also be a good ban, just point-and-click CC. Also a good answer into Leon in a lot of matchups, so potential for that to be the takeaway. But I agree with Eddie, just Alistair, yeah, just getting comfort on that bottom side for Rahel and Luan is always going to be great.
Yep.
And I think the reason is, in a lot of situations, you want to try and leave this Ezreal alone to unlock Luan on the bottom side, so getting rid of something like the Nautilus that has that point-and-click CC just makes things significantly easier for yourself as SK.
So let's see what the... Okay, Renata's also fine. Makes sense. I do think that BDS is likely going to lean towards an Alistair in this situation then. Maybe they get put off because Alistair into Ez is not that fun. Also, Alistair can be made very sad by things like Rumble. So maybe they're not too worried about it. We'll see though, because Labrov, he's very confident on his Alistair. In any case, the final mid lane ban, or will it be something else? BDS want to try and limit, it will be Azir. That makes the most sense, I think. When I was looking at SK's composition, they're kind of missing... In this comp, you'd kind of want like a Maokai Azir, but with Maokai obviously banned away, they now need to think about what they do with the jungle. Dive, I don't think, should be the name of the game. Nocturne is not something I expect them to go for.
I mean, I could even see something like an Ivern Lucian or something along the lines here.
Ivern,
I think Lucian is still very, very strong, but Isma has been leaning more towards those tanks. Poppy, I don't think gets the best of value here, but is still pretty good for team fights, so looks like that's what SK are going to try and lean towards.
It does also deter Rakan, so we think about other support options, right? You're now like, oh, what is a good support here with Ashe? Maybe you go something ranged, like a Lulu.
I think Nautilus is fine here.
Nautilus also, yeah, I agree with you. Nautilus is probably the safest. We talked about Alistair and how it is just a very big comfort pick for Labrov, but against the greater comp of SK, I question how effective it'll be.
Yep.
I definitely think that it's good into engages though, so when the Leona comes in, you're able to provide that peel and disengage. Oh, it's the Corki top.
It is indeed.
Hey.
So Adam getting some inspiration from Mirwin, and that's going to be the solution into the Rumble. Maybe we even see the early Hex Drinker from him, but it should be a relatively safe matchup in the top side.
And even though we don't usually think of Adam as like the AD carry top player, like he's only played one game of the AD TF, he's a massive AD lethality Kalista player in solo queue, so definitely used to playing these range top matchups, even if we haven't seen on the main stage yet. But the Smolder, when we brought in the mid lane, this is something we started to see creep up in a lot of the eastern regions and is very strong, especially if you can get a couple of those early stacks.
Especially if they can get through the laning phase of the bully Corki, and then you find to just, as you said, Dag, to stack up. So interesting again, this time SK Gaming. We've got double AD carry, we've got a lot of pace again, but I feel like a bit more options this time in the draft, if it's fair to say.
I think for SK, you definitely have the opportunity to play for like double ultimates with the Smolder and the Ezreal for some poke. You've got decent engage as well. Like you basically have this triple line with the Rumble, right? Which is going to work out quite well, I feel like, for team fights. You do have a lot of engage, but I think for BDS, you've got some good disengage. But that was actually a Cassiopeia swapping to the top.
Yeah, they've kept the top. They just... I assumed it was Nuke on the Cassio because that is a champion that we typically associate him with. But no, they've actually put Adam on the Cassio into the Rumble on the top side. I can visualize how that matchup would be quite advantageous to the Cassio because you typically do very well and bully effectively short-range champions. It can be a bit volatile in the early game just because of how much power Rumble has. But ultimately, I can see Cassio reaching a point where the Rumble is really going to struggle.
The big problem that I have with it, though, is you are very diveable. Like, if Isma ends up coming up there as a Poppy, you slam her into the wall, she doesn't have the escapes, it can very quickly start to teeter away in the enemy direction. So I'm a little nervous. If Adam can survive the laning phase, he's going to be fine. But if not, this could be a lane that explodes in favor of Rel.
I mean, it's a huge flex now. If it does well for BDS, if they can make it through the rest of the tournament, there's going to be a lot of priority, maybe a lot of questions added to it as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our first Cassiopeia top in LEC history. Never before. Quickly as we get in game though, I need to remind you if you're a master of the Rift and if you never want to miss a game, or at least you never want to miss a game because Santander is here to reward you. You can head over to santandergaming.com to win weekly and monthly rewards like Nisqy here, who's about to die. Again? He should have gone to the website. Use the code LEGEND15, Nisqy. Phosphorus bomb, auto attack. It's first blood over to BDS. Thank you, Santander.
But this time, Nisqy burns his flash and dies, so it's a repeat play from BDS of game 1, but they only come out even further ahead. Now, Ice did have to burn his own flash in the grand scheme of things, so Isma at least has a lane he can punish himself, but I think BDS have just put another target onto Nisqy's back.
Damn, BDS off to a strong start. It's one of the scariest things about Ashe level 1s. The slow is just terrifying. And BDS really looking to take advantage of that, and they find first blood onto Nisqy. Now a flashless Smolder. I would say with Corki, how scared? Probably not that scared, because you got the flat once you get to level 3. I think the biggest problem with it is that Corki during the laning phase can be quite aggressive, can take some nice trades. Already you can see Nisqy relatively low HP.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about Smolder top made a lot of sense to me, just because you get free stacks, right? Onto a lot of melee top laners, even if it's not like a super dominant lane, you just kind of get access to that scaling component much quicker. But into a Corki, I feel like you're going to see what you're seeing on your screen right now and just going to get bullied a lot.
Yeah, I found watching Rookie play this matchup from the LPL, basically the way he tried to play it was, look, level 1 and 2 sucked, but as you started to get later on, you could throw down the sneeze like that every time Nuke went in for it with the Gatling gun, and it meant that you could try and keep him at bay, so it kind of just became an auto attack war. The flap meant you were able to dodge away from some of the phosphorus bombs, so it is definitely a more defensive matchup. But if you're going to take that much upfront damage in the early stages, it's not really the way you want this to go, Nisqy.
You ever feel like when you listen to Smolder's abilities, you think it's like the designer let their 3 or 4-year-old child name the abilities, which is kind of cute, you know, that'd be good. What's this one called? Flap. Perfect. He's going to start the invade off though with his top side, at least on the blue buff. And Sheo, there's no ward here. You can see that SK already knew that it wasn't touched and he's not in the area. Depends how quickly he can do it. Is Irrelevant is waiting in position to see if there's a counter.
Irrelevant not spotted on vision there. Obviously moved into Fog of War. So...
Boy, Nuke's pushed up. Hang on a minute. Let's pause. There's a big wave there, and Nuke is with it as Ignite's already down, or rather, it's just a burn of its own. Isma now ready to come on in, but there's no follow-through. Nisqy was a bit low, and remember, he doesn't have flash to get in range.
Yeah, he will be able to kind of keep this wave in a decent spot, though, so... can farm this up, can look to... He should reset now, I'm pretty sure, and then look to try and TP back in, because he hasn't seen Nuke, but now Nuke is going to show, so he'll cancel the recall. But it does mean that Sheo doesn't actually get to rotate back down to this bottom side. You can see he was considering it to go and steal away a blue buff of his own, but now Nisqy's still in mid lane. Sheo could Q flash over the wall here if they want to.
What takes is another phosphorus bomb, doesn't it? And Nisqy, even though I believe there was a level up there, Sheo's damage should be enough. The wave just out of range of the turret to start things off. Nuke waiting, there it is anyway. Phosphorus bomb out of range, the Valkyrie in, and Nuke with a couple of autos. Sheo tanks it up, Nuke with one more. Isma, flash buckler, come on! A flash poppy slap, and Isma gets the trade.
Ends up being a 1-for-1. Nisqy's going to be able to TP back into lane, so not the biggest loss as he finds himself with the second death so far in this game. But I think Nisqy was initially doing all the right things because he was kind of hovering to the bot side closer to where his jungler was. And when we kind of saw that sequence in play, Isma did a lot of really smart things. Leveraged the prio that he had in top to steal away the blue buff. Then he moved to the bot Scuttle Crab because he knew that all of his top camps were already taken. Yep. That forces enemy jungler up towards the top side. And then with the flap coming through and Isma being so close, Nisqy thinks, oh, I should be relatively safe. And ultimately, it is a 1-for-1. So I think in this situation, you could argue maybe he should have just based. He had the TP available. He could have gone back to lane. So maybe he ultimately just overstayed in lane. But at the end of the day, not the end of the world.
See, Lebrov starting to fish around this mid lane as well. Just starting to set up. Both supports are here. Definitely want to try and punish the fact that you have no summoner spells available. Nisqy's flash going to be up significantly sooner. So if you end up hitting that level 6 for Luan, you can try and, you know, make repeat plays in that mid lane. So that's why we're kind of seeing Lebrov hovering here, just to make sure that nothing untoward happens to Nuke.
Well, I mean, the Dragon's starting off. This time BDS are going to kick it and take it first. Grubs are spawning in 30 seconds. I'm surprised. You know, when I heard that stat getting into game, the first Cassiopeia top. That's crazy, no? I mean, we have seen Cassio top, like, what? Season 4, Season 5 as Smolder mid. It's only recent. Niski has to get away, and he flaps again, but BDS seem like they're running through mid at the moment. And that first Dragon was going to be good.
Now, when we think back to how this series has played out, it was SK that found themselves with a pretty hefty lead in the early game. And the narrative that Dagda and I had coming in was that we've seen SK with leads like this before. Can they take these leads and close out the game? And the answer to game 1 was no. As you can see from the goal graph, they found themselves a pretty hefty advantage, but things quite rapidly declined once that single fight ended up being lost in favor of BDS. Now in this early game, we find a relatively even early game.
Good one, Dagda.
Yeah.
Perfect placement.
It's almost like BDS did a bit of a bait switch.
I honestly think that's the best emote. I think right now that's the best emote.
I love it.
Why
it's so cute.
Why are you thinking it is? Surely, no? You don't want to be biased. Well, guess what? You can support your favorite team.
Yes,
but Fanatics 1 looks very close to McDonald's. I don't know if anyone looks at that and thinks, why does that look slightly like a McDonald's hat? They did that on surely they did that on purpose.
I'm just going to bring up the BDS and the SK one, so you know to see
no bias. Okay. Betty, what is it? It does, no?
You know what? Do you know why Gwen is my favorite champion?
Why?
Because Gwen did I ask.
Oh no. Oh no.
You know what? I get it. I get the cringe. I understand. When you said that before, you know, that statement reminded me, oh yeah, that's right. That is Betty.
Now, while we were, I don't know what we were doing, Dragon and Herald did end up going down in favor of BDS. Sheo is going to get a bit of revenge as he steals away the reds and now makes his way towards the Krugs. Isma will realize that all of his camps have been stolen. Irrelevant, is he in danger of a dive here? You can see that the matchup is starting to go very favorably.
Good damage from Sheo, or rather on the other end, but Irrelevant gets tagged up with the ult and trying to get out of the turret ranges. Adam at half HP, he's burning down though, and Petrifying Gaze looked away from BDS. Don't have the health bars, but Adam turns it onto Isma. He's got a Twin Fang up as Flash for Flash now grounded for the time being, and another Noxious Blast. Remember, movement speed gained, and as Adam runs away, we look off map to see that Niski just got bonked. I think that was a global arrow.
I mean, yeah, Niski ends up dying in the mid lane. I mean, the assist coming in from Ice does suggest that the arrow connected. Meanwhile, on the top side of the map, Irrelevant really wanted to go for that second kill, but because of the over, he knew he couldn't afford to chase into the Cassio. A very close back and forth on the top side means that both top laners, oh, actually, it wasn't the top laner, Isma ends up securing that kill. So this is going to be very favorable for Adam as the matchup continues to go in his favor.
I mean, this worked out fantastically. And of course, obviously getting the kill on Niski as well is great, but it just feels like there's a bit of a... like, SK don't really know how they want to try and set up on the map. Like, yes, you got Sheo who's invading on towards that top side, but they're not really in a position to try and defend. And I think we just got a replay here. Yeah, Ice. This is great, because it's not even from, like, straight up the middle of the lane when you go for the reset. Just decks him. Great shot coming through from Ice.
And I guess, I mean, Luon saw that coming. I don't know if there was any comms through, but I guess the reaction time has to be pretty quick regardless. That's rough for Niski. Wasn't able to burn his flash. 0-3-1 start here on the Smolder. And we talk about the scaling element, but it is so far delayed at this point. And for BDS, it's not just mid, is it? Gents, it's also top with Irrelevant now in a bit of trouble as well. He's going to get flailed up. Arctic Assault and permafrosted down. And Adam is just fang after fang after fang. Feels like I'm watching Naruto in the early stages again. Man, Adam just shreds him down.
You know I'm old school, because one of the earliest iterations I remember of this Cassio top was 2015 MSI, when Huni brought it out in top lane, and I think it was against Dyrus. And they had a very similar situation where that Cassio was just running amok on the top side of the map. And it's a situation where a matchup that we've been seeing Rumble prioritized for so long, and teams have shied away from trying to pick counters into it. And it's only recently that we've started to see more teams being willing to pick these matchups as an answer, and Adam coming through with the Cassio showing how effective this Cassio can be.
He had a 9.5-minute Rod of Ages. is going to stack up so incredibly quickly. He's getting at the same time as the junglers are getting the lockets. Like, this is such an incredibly fast pace for this Cassiopeia. She's going to be unstoppable as this game goes on.
Meanwhile, it's like the early days of eBay on the side of Irrelevant, right? Like garage sale galore, some boots, a tome. That's about it.
The ring is he found behind a dresser somewhere?
Yeah, that's right. I can sell this. I could use it probably as knockup comes through. We get the keeper's verdict out as Sheo has to flush out and True Shot Run still connects on the back end, but you can see Ice's damage with the arrow delaying onto Luon as well. They might lose their jungler, but what else comes with it? Isma's a little bit low, looking for the re-engage. The Zenith Blade flashed away from. Labrov gets out now with no summoners as Ice steps on up ambitiously, but rightly so. SK find themselves a kill at the end of the day.
Nice job to lean on Rahel and Luon there. Good engage coming through from Luon to set things up, and then Rahel having continuous damage that he's able to continue forward with. Sheo just a little bit too far forward, and it means that he tanks a ton of his health before you can really get the members of BDS in position to deal damage.
The chain CC was just really great from SK, mainly because Luon chose to hold his ultimate until the Sejuani passive fell off, and then so much value was gained from Rahel's cleanse as well, which means that even though he kind of experienced some CC from the Alistar, because the cleanse had already come through, once the Sejuani ultimate connects onto him, it doesn't even last that long. Now, of course, they can't convert it really into any follow-up kills. It does expend Labrov's flash, but ultimately a nice little skirmish that SK were able to find. But I think that Cassio is still a big problem.
I think you're right.
I guess the saving grace is Cassio doesn't have an easy time of getting on top of...
Soulflare up and available. Yes, it is. I mean, here comes the Dragon as well, but Nuke's AoE damage pulls him back a bit. Sheo takes a while to die. There's Mum! But Sheo walking away. One more auto. It's not until Isma gets the buckler flying. Nuke can't stop that one, and SK with another big kill. It goes to the Poppy, but it's still gold in their back pocket.
But it's with SK now having positioning up towards these Void Grubs, so should be able to match the early ones that were taken by BDS. So nicely done by SK. And again, this is kind of what we're talking about, is unlocking Luon to move from that bottom side, but Rahel's just coming in tow every time because they keep catching Sheo in this river.
And while Grubs are being taken after the pick as well, it gives me time to kind of reconnect with what's so exciting about this matchup. I know coming in, we talked a lot about top on the desk as well. I want to bring it back to where we are on the bot side, gents, because Ice and Rahel, both very fed in this game, both with a nice warm start. And I think when you think about both of these rosters, their 80 carries are so integral to how their success has been throughout the year.
And for Rahel, it has definitely been a, hey, I'm coming alive in the early stages. He's been great at finding these early leads, getting dual lane kills, finding moments to roam like this to catch people out. And in this one, it ends up paying off dividends because Sheo doesn't realize he's on a ward, hasn't swept out the brush, so Niski able to come across, and then it's this front to back that SK are able to set up, focusing down Sheo. Mom over the top as well, just sets up beautifully for that kill with the buckler just to finish things off.
The interesting thing about that play was that SK reset out onto the map as 4, right? Well, I say as 4, I mean, Niski was already in mid lane, but typically you'll have the support plus jungle roam mid to provide that extra vision, but Rahel abandoned the bot side of the map to work with his team to provide that extra bit of damage and help secure that kill. The downside is that he did sacrifice a decent number of plates. You can see only 2 remaining on the bot side, and Rahel and Niski...
He's deep. He has to press E. Straight away, the flash comes out as well. To Luon, he wants a hand, but Ice won't let him get away. No, no, no. A kill over to the 80 carry. When we're talking about the matchup, it's big as Adam might be caught out. He has to flash away. Isma with his kills big, but Petrifying Gaze buys him time, but not enough. Irrelevant looking to burn him down, but can he give the kill over? Isma has to take it away. That's a shutdown again to the Poppy, who is the carry now.
Nearly able to turn it around, but Isma manages to get the kill. Still though, Nuke on this bottom side will now finish off that tower. You've got a lot of members of BDS in the mid lane as well. They're going to finish off that mid lane structure.
2 turrets.
Ice.
Flash burn as well. Mum comes through. There's a lockdown with a Glacial Fissure in the back end, and Niski now has to play a bit of front to back, but Labrov is isolated, and so is Sheo, but look who's just rocked up. Ice is here again, and he deals mean damage even with the static shiv. And BDS, you know, I'm talking about these push and pull of trades, but BDS, the gold value is 4,000 in their lead with Double Dragon as well. I mean, this game, they're playing the map so well.
Individual mistakes from SK are allowing BDS to just snowball the map.
Yeah.
You've got to remember, so a lot of this is a result of SK return onto the map. They found a pick onto Xiao in the mid lane. The problem is you opened up the bot lane tower, and then after that sequence of events, you kept Rahel mid and sent Nisqy bot. Nisqy isn't strong enough to hold anyone, so they send Nuke down there. They then catch Rahel in mid, and while a play is happening on the top side, you now know that the jungler is there, leaving mid tower and bot tower open. So BDS just kind of assessed the situation in the map. They had good lane assignments, and they immediately, in a very narrow window, found great punishes across the board to extend their gold lead now to 4K.
And because SK overextend trying to correct their mistakes, you get the top lane tower as well with Adam. So now Adam gets the reset, come back out on the map, and Rift Herald is up and available. So collapsing in bot wave, now shifting Nuke across because he has that TP. BDS just get to set up for the Rift Herald on toe.
3 out of towers just like that, right, within a minute's time. And as Dagda said, the Herald to boot just means that you have a few options with what you can do. Now, LeBron is quite isolated.
His ulti is available, though. I mean, he's trying to buy time, it looks like. Is he going to pop it? No. I've got to zoom in, don't know. Maybe I need glasses, Jensen.
He does, but
I think he just chose not to waste it.
Don't know why he was there, though.
That is
Warding is going to be my assumption.
Yeah, but like with the rest of your team on top side.
I agree. I'm just, my job is to explain that guy.
He's done his job. Well, I mean, look, it's not like BDS are losing out on this trade, though, right? I mean, bot is going to be, as I use that word, a trade itself, but in a turret, opened up. SK again, showing members, you know, Vetty, you were just talking about this. They commit, they show how many members are committing to the play as well, and BDS on the other side of the map are making their own play.
BDS is a very traditional 2-lane team, where they like to do the 4-1 split, and
what about this? Is this traditional for you?
I mean, it's an easy pick. I think Irrelevant with no flash.
I think Irrelevant's getting split.
That's tradition in my town. Well,
I mean, that's just a great utilization of the TP. Irrelevant thinks that he's safe because he saw top tower going down along with the mid push. He wasn't expecting Nuke and then Labrov to capitalize. And it's one of those situations where typically what would happen is SK, while that top tower is falling, would be investing vision on the bot side to provide that safety for Irrelevant. But because they're kind of behind every single play, he doesn't have any of that vision, he gets caught out. And now it really does feel like SK is falling apart, because when these individual picks start to happen, it just goes to show that the team isn't really focusing on what options their opposition has, and BDS are in full control of the game.
Especially when it's 17 minutes in. You've got next Dragon coming up in 50 seconds. You have all outer turrets down, even the tier 2 and top gone. Like, this is so easy now for BDS to get control of the jungle and deny SK any sort of answer for a lot of these objective takes.
Yeah, and the kills are just so deceptive because 4 of the 6 are on your Poppy. And that is not where you want those kills.
Yeah.
Your mid laner is 0-3. He is 2,000 gold behind his laner position. In the top side of the map, you're 2.4k gold behind. It's the solo lanes are struggling. And between the 80 carries, sure, this Ezreal is definitely not in a weak spot, especially with the Muramana being about to be complete. But yeah, I'm concerned for SK about how they're actually going to be able to execute in these upcoming fights.
And remember, again, the winner of this series does have to go up against G2 and GX. That's going to be a fight itself as well, isn't it? But while we hover on that thought for the time being, I mean, for BDS, a great position, a good gold lead, set up for the 3rd Dragon here, where SK can't even walk into the river right now out of fear of death, and that's just going to be sole point. SK coming late to the party.
Yeah, they can't really get in. Labrov's playing bouncer here. Does get a decent amount of damage with the Ezreal ults, but Irrelevant off the side. BDS maybe biting off a bit more than they can chew here.
Show ultis into Isma, the arrow on the back end. There's multiple targets. Isma, though, separates 2, but Adam has already killed Luon. Adam might be low. That could change things here. Petrifying Gaze was a bit of a whiff, and I think Medusa needs to adjust the angle as BDS hover yet again, thinking on the outskirts of the fight, but SK already too far away, and the Dragon's done. Luon's dead. That's still a BDS win.
Look at how confident BDS are, though. When you look at SK, they just feel so weak right now at this point in the game. And so that BDS just say, you know what, we'll just fight. We have easy engaged tools. We can start the fights whenever we want. They'll take the pick and they'll be happy with it. It reduces the siege on the mid lane tower. They deny the wave from coming through. And again, it's 4-0 in towers, gentlemen. With 3 dragons to 0, the grubs were equalized thanks to SK finding that single pick, but SK, they're kind of relying on the game stalling out. Maybe this Smolder can get to a point where it becomes this absolutely late game terror, but yeah, their options are dwindling fast.
I mean, you know, Corky's still in the mix as well. We know that Cassiopeia is always going to be ahead. Rylai's coming up next, as you can see in the build path. That Rod of Ages that Dagda was looking at mightily, as by the way, Rylar's just finished, is now at 10 stacks, Dagda. So level 14, he's got a 2-level lead because he just got that passive leveled up an extra. Adam is strong, and it is really nice to see when also, remember, coming into the series, we're like, man, Irrelevant's stats are so good. He's been looking like one of the best top laners, and Adam's been slumping, and like we've been questioning, what does this top laner bring? Bro, this series, Adam has been bringing a lot.
Yeah, I think the problem for Irrelevant is that SK just haven't really been setting up for him to have these big moments, right?
That's very
like
fair
the team
too.
Fight, Luan whiffs the Rel ult in the last one. Luan whiffs the ultimate here. Irrelevant can't really get the ultimate he needs, and he's had some decent ultimates like now.
Isma with all the gold, by the way, and the tanky sass is just going to die. And Luan, again, as you said, not a great showing. A double kill picked up instantly, and here's Lebrov into the back line. He headbutt pulverized and sets it up to dunk it down. BDS with 3, and SK are once again on the ground.
They tested BDS, and I feel like BDS passed with flying colors. Isma gets absolutely destroyed on the front line, and it leaves open this Baron for BDS is taking.
Well, Irrelevant would show that he is still a good top laner. What Dagda was saying, if he can 2v5 here, but on the back end, Lebrov is zoning out, and Baron's gone, even with the bars blinking in fate. Irrelevant and Niski can't do anything to stop it. Baron goes down, and it's almost a 10k gold lead.
And it's heartbreaking because Niski's 4 stacks away from that 225, which would give him the execute. I mean, look how low BDS were in that pit. That maybe could have been the deciding factor, but unfortunately not able to get it. And instead when you come into this fight, again, Luan, Sheo had already gone for the dash away, so the solar flare goes wide, and then choke points like this are great for Irrelevant to try and fight in, but where's the rest of them? Rahel was trying to push in mid, it means that you can't really do anything. BDS finish off one, Lebrov had a great flank there, and I love this from Lebrov as well. Headbuckets him back, but holds on to having that stun, so even if Rahel tries to arcane shift back out, Lebrov can always follow him as well. So just nicely orchestrated there by BDS.
Red Bull Baron power play kicks off, and we're already talking about how they were playing the map. I'm interested to see how BDS start knocking down these pins, because bot seems to be the focus, mid getting pushed in, top's going to bounce back and set up for that inhib turret wave as well. And SK's defense here, once again, feels like it's lacking.
I mean, what does SK even do? Like, I genuinely think the problem is the Sejuani Maokai. Like, 2 games in a row now, I feel like Isma's jungle pick just hasn't given them the freedom to kind of get the fights that they were looking for, you know? And I think that the Sejuani Maokai priority from BDS has just worked wonders for them, especially once you enter this mid game where SK seems committed to try and fight BDS around these neutrals. So BDS, they secure the tier 2 in mids, they set their sights on the tier 2 in bots, and they're looking to bring themselves to 2-0 in this series.
Going to continue. I mean, Sheo's right in behind them here. SK are completely split.
Solar Flare used onto Adam and sets up with the equalizer, at least this time it lands, but as you said, SK in 2 different places. BDS, you could say the same as Adam has to flash back, but the reposition is just fine. He hits Conqueror and New Kid's range. SK is sent away, in the turret still goes down.
SK were lucky Isma got a great ultimate off there, because otherwise that could have been a disaster.
Yep.
The tower goes down, but I think it was Nuka got booted out of the fight, so he wasn't really in a position to try and follow up on a lot of that engage, but still, the tower goes down. Splashes were burnt on towards Adam, so maybe you can try and punish that in a fight, but 10 seconds on Soul, BDS back out of the map faster. It's not looking good for SK.
I agree.
Well,
you pointed at me and I didn't. Yeah.
It's frustrating as reaching out to Vedius the other day. There's BDS, I mean, look, again, limiting the options of what SK can do. Stunned, grounded, please let me move.
He's trying to stay out of range of the E, and believe it or not, it worked, which is the craziest thing.
Yeah. It was like a small pixel against that wall, which I guess that made it work. Rahel kites back as well. Nuke's damage not to be frothed at, or rather frowned at. He's definitely frothing. He's 3 items, and man, that's like a cappuccino if I've ever seen one. BDS push in through bot, and this series that we were hyping up, this series that we thought could be massive, is falling on its head. Game 1, a throwaway from SK. Game 2, an outplay, an early first blood, and BDS running the map. It is a positive look at BDS, so all things considered, that we are finally seeing BDS coming back into some light after that Fnatic series.
But it's also, we've seen BDS go for late game scaling game 1, and SK end up throwing, BDS punish, they win the game. This is a game where BDS get the early lead, play through it cleanly, and SK don't really get a look back in. So now, if you're looking at game number 3, if BDS can close this out, what do you go for as SK? How do you try and respond? Both sides of the coin haven't worked out in your favor.
Gonna be coins, Betty.
I mean, my take is you deny both Sejuani and Maokai.
Yep.
Because I feel like that Sheo has had a great series, right? It's just in terms of his decision making and what he's been doing. This game, he was a lot more focused on early game ganks. In the previous game, it was more about just, you know, weathering the storm, but his Maokai play around objectives was really where you saw the value of the champion. And I think that that's the area that needs to be reevaluated individually. I think that Nisqy didn't obviously have the great game. He kind of got set behind early. But yeah, I still also don't really understand the value of Smolder in this composition. Obviously, it's going to look that way because of the deficit that SK find themselves in, and he was the target that felt so much pain in the early game. So, but yeah, it would definitely be disappointing for SK to finish their year like this. I feel like that the roster has shown us so many high moments throughout summer especially. They finished first in the regular season. And I'm hoping that we do get to see more. I'm hoping that what looks to be a clean end for BDS will give SK the opportunity to rethink.
Well, he's dead. Back to your turn.
But I do think it's nice to see a step back up from BDS, because there was a lot of question marks in summer playoffs. But it looks like the time off has done them well, kind of got themselves back onto the horse. The team fighting has been clean. The objective setup has been significantly better. They're not getting caught out overextended in side lanes. This feels like a step back towards the form we expected of BDS in summer.
It's like going to a 10-year-old's birthday party. All smiles here. That's what BDS are, right? There's a jumping castle. You get cake. You get food. Everyone's happy. No one can complain. That's the situation of BDS right now. SK is like, I don't know. You're not invited to the party, Dagda. That's all I've got on the other side. But it's not you personally, because I would always invite you. As the arrow flies through, Nisqy tagged out in the back end, and again, petrifying gaze just locks him in place. He can't do anything. Zenith Blade was dodged by Adam, who is slithering his way through the fight. Yes, he's poked out. Yes, he's close to dying, but the Archangels shields him up. BDS getting low, but Adam's ready to TP and go, go, go. SK, what have you got for the rest of this series? Because our first place team in the regular season of summer is getting destroyed, pulled apart, torn to pieces, and BDS on a run, ready to face the winner of GX and G2. That's how this series feels, as we got a match point with a very unlocked BDS.
They're going to have some fun with SK. They're going to pick them apart on the Nexus, but that will be a very clean performance from BDS. From start to finish, they kept the pressure on. And while there were moments where SK was able to find a pick here or there, BDS just played the map better. They continued to gain objective after objective, and they really gave SK zero room to move.
And it's tough because it feels like there's so many things here for BDS that worked out well. Ice on your screen is Ashe, beautiful. Betty already highlighted the jungles. Game 3, you need to find some way to break it.
Well, as SK is gathering their strength to make a sweep and fight for their spot in Munich, we can now check in with Nisqy to see how he feels about the possibility of playing on the big stage, if of course they can reverse sweep.
I think SK Gaming will win in Munich. That would be the underdog story. I don't think G2 will take it home this time. I think it will be SK or Fnatic. I usually perform better on big stages because there's more pressure, but I feel like I'm lucky that I've played on lots of stages before, in NA, in EU, in Korea, like wherever. So when you go into a big stage, it's like, wow, I'm gonna play League, like what I'm doing for so long in front of like 10,000 people. But then once you go on stage, you actually see them and then you're amazed. The year has been long. Season finals is when it matters the most, because that's when you go to Worlds, right? It's the first time I'm in a team where I'm the veteran and I have rookies around me, and I kind of build project in some ways. Going to Munich will be for sure one of our goals, because that also means you go to Worlds. So yeah, I'm excited to go to Munich and I hope we make it.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Lore!
Red Bull gives you wings.
Hey, shouldn't you be on stage right now?
Hey, you got a pick. Tom Kent?
What? I was not expecting this.
And a crazy off-meta pick that secured you the win. How did you come up with it?
I just listened to my gut.
Like Niski here, who's about to die. He should have gone to the website. Use the code Legend15, Niski. Phosphorus bomb, auto attack. It's first blood over to BDS. He's deep. He has to press E. Straight away, the flash comes out as well. To Luon, he wants a hand, but Ice won't let him get away. No. SK, what have you got for the rest of this series? Because our first place team in the regular season of summer is getting destroyed.
And welcome back to the LEC season finals as BDS take us to match point here against SK, and it has been a very one-sided game compared to the first one, but I want to talk about draft first, because GB, when you're gonna pick red side, and that's what SK did, I don't feel like they made the better use of what you can build on red side here.
No, I completely agree. I think I actually don't even know why they picked Red Buff with what they had here, because I think coming out of game 1, they thought to themselves, okay, we need different priority picks. I think Sejuani would have been great for them in game 1, but they never picked it, got banned in the second phase. Then in this game again, I don't think they expected to get the Rumble after Adam still had a hard time in lane, but BDS didn't care, so they say, well, we take the Sejuani now. Maoka's already banned. We're super happy. You pick Rumble? Okay, that's cool. We still have an answer to that later down the line.
Yeah, I mean, what I don't really understand is because by banning Maoka, you like put Sejuani as the only strong tank jungler left. You put it on a pedestal like this, and suddenly you increase the value to pick so much that the other team is just gonna first pick it, and it makes no sense because what did they actually think BDS would first pick? I guess they thought BDS would take the Ashe, but then the Ashe actually bounced back and they didn't take it themselves. So they kind of just shot themselves in the foot and they didn't really know how to go on from the draft after that.
Right, a strange read, and on top of that, BDS improving a bit and innovating a bit. We saw the Cassio in the mid lane, it goes to the top lane this time around, from gods to other legends in the Greek pantheon here on the side of Adam. First Cassio in LEC on top lane since 2015, and it had a huge impact.
Yeah, I mean, just look at this fight. This fight looks completely ruined for the BDS because the Sejuani is almost dead already when it comes in, but the sustained Cassio damage with the Conqueror actually allows him to kite this out and actually trade this 1-for-1, which is most champions would actually just get 2-0 here. So I think, and coming into this dive, it's just so easy. They just put the miasma, they link the CC, the Q is gonna connect, and they use dice to all the sustained damage.
Yeah, and you're talking behind the scenes a bit about the itemization as well. Like, he went Sork Boots here, did not have Mercs against any of all this stun coming through. And I showed some stats coming into the start of the day where Irrelevant was definitely looking better. I tell you this time, I'll have to give it to you, Finn. Adam looked great. And honestly, Law, you say that SK struggled a bit. I think that's an understatement. They got absolutely destroyed in game 2. Like, that looked like a game that you would normally have FF'd if it was a scrim and you say, let's just go next and see what happens. Because they were full scaling and no time to actually
And that's the thing. And in Reddit check, you were setting up the fact that usually SK, if not on macro, you can expect them on good setups, which is what have been missing here, but I feel like BDS picked up the slack in that department.
Oh, absolutely. I think BDS has actually just been the better team coming into today. Like, I think the early game in game 1 obviously was very poor, but the way that they've team fighted their way back into it, there's just... I mean, there's nothing that's bad to say about it, and in these late game fights we see here, SK is just so far behind that there's no way they can play the game.
It really just seems like they woke up after the Dragon fight in game 1, and they had their feet on the pedal ever since. This fight, they just do a clean sweep, they kill the guy here, kill the guy there, look for the Nash, and the game is just so easy to finish out because they don't make any mistakes once they're in the driver's seat. They just keep control of the game and just choke SK out very slowly.
Yeah, and then you end up in this situation when you're on SK's side, choosing red side yet again in what could be their last competitive game of the season, GB. If they have to wake up, it has to be now. Is it gonna come from draft? Is it gonna come from individual performances? Because when you look at these BDS guys right here, it feels like they fixed everything they had to fix within 1 week. I'm waiting for SK right now.
I think it has to start with a draft as well. I think we've come out of 2 drafts now where I think SK kind of had some tools that did not work for them, and on the other side, BDS were very happy with what they had into SK. But I also think from an individual level, I am generally looking at Niski. I was checking out his match history, and he had been practicing Smolder. He had been practicing these 80 mid laners. But the problem is right now, you lost that flash. Level 1 in game 1 did not allow you to play the game. You're the veteran, as he said in a video earlier. He needs to be the guy that you can rely on. You need to see him be even with Nuke. And I also think just the Rumble priority is a bit rough for them to play because they can't play fully with these ADs and an AP jungler from Isma.
I mean, I think we need to see this Rumble drop because I think Niski needs to be allowed to play his mages. I think they should just pick like Irrelevant, Azir, anything that Niski feels comfortable in the way in the early phases because I think he needs to really have an high impact if they're gonna take BDS.
And do you think they have what it takes to take BDS, given from what we saw from them now? Because I feel like it gets worse game after game, and I do feel like you doubt your fundamentals when it comes like this. But that's not a question for us. That's going to be a question for casters. Rather, take it away, guys, and tell us what you think.
Thank you very much. Oh, we're full pace, yeah, going straight into game 3 because pick ban is well and truly upon us. Match point for BDS, Asterix, Dagda, Vedius. You can call him Daggy if you want. Do you have a nickname?
Vedi.
Vedi.
Anything cooler than that? Anything else?
Andy.
Oh, yeah. Because when people say...
Fighter of the Night Man.
People say like you're an Akali Andy. Isn't it good because you can use that name, you know, negative and positive? It's your name.
Sometimes I wish your brain would stop.
Well, we can start now because you can start taking over as we go into pick ban. And remember, even though Aurora is banned away, we've got a lot more to talk about here in the priorities. BDS, you did, in a more serious tone, talk about the need to take away BDS from Sejuani, from Maokai. Those should be the two absolutes for SK going into this
You should
draft.
either be able to get the trade, so you give them Maokai and you take Sejuani, or you get rid of both. I think that the Maokai ban in the previous game just limited their options, and I don't think that the Poppy really delivered in what they wanted. Now they're going to change things up. The Ashe going to be taken away, the Rel going to be taken away. I do believe that SK have the potential to turn this series around, but they need to find a draft that gives them options both in the early game and in the mid to late game. Because I think that what we've seen so far is BDS overall seem to have a better macro. So you're going to have to basically look to try and outplay them in the fights if you want to stand a chance. The Corki going to be taken away. Both Maokai and Sage are available. I imagine that this Rumble Prio is going to just move completely away from SK, and either the Maokai or the Sejuani is going to be first picked here by BDS.
Yeah, I'm curious if they maybe even try for the Rumble on third pick, and then you can try and ban away the Cassiopeia or something along those lines to try and make things easy. But immediately, Maokai going to be taken. I imagine, I was going to say the Ezreal, but Zeri.
Zeri
and there's
Sejuani.
There's that handshake.
Yeah, I think this is completely fine. The Zeri can be flexed into both mid and AD carry. If Irrelevant is feeling adventurous, you can bring it up top too, depending on how much you've been practicing that. But Zeri, very strong champion in the current meta. And it also kind of opens you up for something like a Yone mid, if you want to, depending on what direction BDS go with their draft. Or you can play towards a strong top side, something like a Camille for Irrelevant as well, given that he will have the counter pick. So.
Okay, so going to bring back out the Jinx. This has been something that ICE has been very much picking up over the course of summer, and it works out where they traditionally go for an early lane swap just to get out of any sort of pesky lane state. But we'll have to see if that is going to be the game plan as we start to run on through. But Nuke, not with the Corki. Does he just go back towards the Lucian and say, hey, I'm going to match that potential AD mid?
Yes.
Lucian. All right, fair enough.
Niski's is open.
Oh, yes it is.
Hasn't had it this entire series.
Fine. Yeah, so SK really are just defaulting to, fine, we will play your game. We'll pick strong laners with good scaling. And I think this makes a lot of sense. SK, I think the biggest variable will now be Irrelevant because BDS are going to be forced into blind picking their top. So if I'm BDS, I'm thinking about looking to try and get myself Cassante. And so I would think about banning maybe the Rumble, but Rumble hasn't been that effective this series. Something like Camille, maybe a Jax, maybe something that can give Irrelevant that solo carry potential in the top side.
I mean, again, as well, remember that we've had Renekton up in this series, I think all 3 games now, and it has been picked up now with a Sejuani, Irrelevant's favorite of playoffs, just before, of course, they got bowled out by KC in the end. That is also an option here, so let's see. We've talked a lot about top, but supports are the ones being banned. Nautilus, Rakan, engage option after engage option here with less and less being available.
If it's a Braum ban here, I feel like it's going to be a Leona pickup for Luon.
Okay.
It kind of feels like what they're trying to set up for, and basically BDS are trying to go them into it with the Rakan ban as well, force them into that. But it does mean I think LeBron would just be happy to go back towards the Alistar. Again, you're more than likely going to see a lane swap from BDS in these early stages, so just take the Alistar, say we forfeit levels 1 to 3, and we'll just come back later on and try and fight that good fight.
Definitely looks like a Leona coming out from SK. We'll see if they choose to lock that one in, but I would be very surprised if they locked in top next. The thing that's also a big surprise is BDS banning support themselves. I think the Rakan does make sense, something you'll often see paired alongside Zeri, just because, especially when she gets static shiv, she's just so safe in the bot lane.
Yeah.
There's that Renekton.
Okay. So one of the options taken away.
Leona?
I think Leona, and then you just keep the counter pick for Irrelevant on that 5th pick. Adam will probably go back towards something like the Cassante realistically here. Lebrov goes Alistar, and then will be interesting to see if Irrelevant wants to go back towards the Rumble or he wants to try to approach it, because Irrelevant also kind of happy to go towards things like the Camille and that kind of stuff, but this would be a surprise. So just trying to take the Cassante away from Adam instead, but Adam is more than happy to take some of his Adam picks into Cassante.
So what is he thinking? Is because you want another tank for the team. Maybe because it's just that when BDS go for these type of front-to-back comps, they are reliant on Adams Cassante, and this is supposed to kind of break the formula. But
you could just go Scion.
Yeah, actually true. He go Scion, he could go Ornn.
Well.
He's going to go Kennen.
Oh, okay.
He's going to go for similar team fight value, but in very different ways. Kennen also pretty solid matchup. There are definitely certain points where I think Cassante can have advantages in the 1v1 specifically.
But then I was just going to interrupt Betty and say, then do you worry about that Leona Alistar trade on the opposite end? Or do you just think, okay, Lebrov's like, well, I'm so comfortable on this, forget it, you can have Leona.
Yeah, I think they're more than happy to give Leona because I think they're... Well, I guess...
Lulu could actually go pretty well here. I mean, Zeri Lulu bot lane, plus you get the Whimsy for Alistar if he goes to the engage. You go Whimsy, the Kennen when you go in. Renata could work well. But yeah, I think Lulu goes real hard here.
Dagda. They don't call you big daggies for nothing, do they?
No one calls him that.
We better start because Lulu just got locked in.
But yeah, I really like it. I mean, it sets up Zeri incredibly well, but just the ease of accessing an exhaust on her, then being able to play for a Whimsy on any sort of potential gauge. This sets up really well now for SK Gaming.
It's a BDS comp.
It is, isn't it?
But it's on the side of SK. And they've said, fine, we've seen the cards that you've been dealt, and now we're just going to play them ourselves. And BDS, they've had to adjust a little bit. With the Kennen on the top side, I think that relying on Alistar to be your initial engage, my opinion on Maokai is that he's not a real engage. His ultimate is more of like a zoning tool rather than a reliable way to start a fight. So Maokai becomes your initiator with Kennen looking for flanks. I think it's going to be difficult against SK's composition with Azir, Sejuani, Cassante, and the exhaust going to be sitting on Irrelevant this time around. The heal going to be coming out from Luon on the bot side of the map.
Well, at least there's an exhaust into Kennen. That's one box checked, but their backs are against the wall. It's an elimination series if you didn't catch that by the start of the show. SK and BDS, it's a fight in that lower bracket. And, you know, thank you very much to our stats team for reminding me that it's funny that in 2023, this was actually, you know, the lower bracket run as well. And BDS actually 3-0'd SK only a year ago, knocking SK out from World's contention. Now, of course, BDS went on to lose to Fnatic, who then made that same run to get into the finals versus G2. But again, for BDS SK, is it just going to revisit? Is it just going to be another book? Maybe another page first in that said book. Either way, here in 2024, in our season finals, we now find out if BDS can clean this up or if SK have got something new in them in this said year. It would be crazy to get knocked out here again in a 3-0, especially with SK's promise through this year. Another reminder to everyone, like, it was third in winter, even though it was 8th in spring, still getting to playoffs and doing some damage to end up 7th. First in the regular season of summer. We were thinking, hey, this team with Rahel and Luon, who are looking like the best 2v2 in Europe, maybe they can do it. Maybe they can be our third Worlds team.
But a huge amount of that, again, came down to individual performers stepping up.
Oh, yeah.
Luon with great Alistar engages, Niski with incredible performances. But we haven't quite got to see it. Niski, in fact, has been struggling early.
Flash from Lebrov. Luon in a bit of trouble. He flashes himself. That Lulu is squishy. The damage is now done. Now, that was flash and heal for Flash as Rahel comes through and gets some damage onto Lebrov, but there won't be too much else to speak of. So, 1 minute 20, Lebrov is going to have a late back.
Luon is very lucky that Lebrov isn't running Hex Flash, because that could be such an easy setup, but still maybe, because Sheo looks like he's going to start on his blue on this top side. He could go for a very quick gank onto the bottom lane. I like the early ward just placed in on towards the enemy jungle here, so then you can spot out as SK if that gank is going to come through, but I'd be curious to see if Sheo just tries to avoid that and goes for, you know, level 2, level 3 onto this bottom side.
I just respect that these teams are like, the game starts at level 1, boys. Let's, you know, both teams looked for a topside jungle invade across the first 2 games, and this time they're like, do you want to just go mid? And they're like, hell yeah, let's just go mid. Flash is traded across the boards. A big health advantage for Niski to start, but...
Level 2, Niski, he might have to flash, and...
That was really good play from Nuke. He really played on the edge there. He's like, will I flash auto? Because you'll die.
There will be a series where Niski gets past level 1 with Flash, but it will not be this series
very
so
true.
far. It has not been a good old time for Niski in this lane phase, and now Sheo just opening up more opportunities for himself as to where he wants to try and play around, because you can see the push coming in that bottom side. Again, they haven't spotted Sheo crossing into the spot lane. May just showing that ward now, so they know that they're free to push this one in. But still, gank bot, gank mid. Sheo's got a world of options.
See if he actually looks for any ganks. In game 1, he wasn't super proactive on the gank front. The biggest difference between game 1 and this game for BDS is that they don't have 3 losing lanes. The bot side of the map has push in favor of SK, as you can see, and meanwhile Nuke and Adam are getting push in their respective lanes. So Sheo has more options this time around compared to game 1, so he definitely could look for those ganks that you're talking about, Dagda. For the time being, full clears are going to come through from both junglers. And Irrelevant going to do what he can to get what farm he can as he suffers the consistent poke coming out from Adam.
And I mean, we said it was a bit of a flip, right? And, you know, from game 1 where we saw winning lanes for SK, we are seeing in response for BDS here, not only through mid, but top as we expect. And, you know, this early game for BDS, a bit of pace already built up, and we know that these lanes are so important. We know that for BDS as well, playing off the tempo of mid, it looks like Sheo's going to be doing exactly that as he looks for Scuttle, but Isma has already taken that from his hands.
Yeah, so they will spot out that Isma's on this bottom side, and I think it was nice from Isma to try and get down to this bottom side, cover and shadow Rahel and Luan as they push in. Will be able to move up towards this top side with the control that Nuke has in mid lane to get that scuttle for himself, but still both junglers kind of easing into this game and making sure all their lanes are safe at the moment.
Pressure has to be mounting for SK as they can feel their year slipping away.
Oh yeah.
BDS continue to kind of be the gatekeepers of the LEC this year, firmly holding on to that 3rd place spot where they finished in every single split so far this year. And while they did fall short to Fnatic based on their performance throughout the year, it kind of fits in with that trajectory of theirs. The problem is that they now have to fight their way through the lower bracket, where if they do win today, they will have to go through the winner of G2 versus Giant X. So it's no easy road if they want to qualify to the World Championship this year.
And as Medic said, I mean, getting all the way to finals, you know, that's the only way to do it. If G2 are there, yeah, 3rd place will secure as well, but just getting to 3rd place already, G2 have not only made it difficult by dropping to the lower bracket, but the fact that they won all 3 splits made it very difficult for everyone else. It's so rough. Like, unless you're a Fnatic right now, like, well, all we have to do is kind of do 1 step, but even then, they've got a safety net too.
But I think it's kind of showing that you have to earn your spot coming into the World Championship.
Yep.
MDK still have to win 1 after beating G2. But a lot of these teams now have to run that gauntlet to get there. Nuke, good trade on mid. But still, I think BDS are kind of happy with a slower pace of early stage if they can just get this Jinx into a game point where she can scale. Like you were saying about the tiers in the early stages of game 1, I think the double Gully does a very similar story.
Yeah, these teams are chilling. So we too will be chill.
Okay, I can do that, Betty. I've been chill the whole time, as you know.
I am aware.
So, I just want to quickly remind, could have done this at the start, but next week, if you didn't know, and you're wondering in this chill time, you have to chill with us on Friday and Saturday instead. So different days, as today is Saturday and tomorrow is Sunday. I just had to kind of tell myself that because I forgot what day it is. But yes, we are live next week on Friday. So if you're here on Sunday, we will not be. Does everyone get that? You guys, you got that in your book? Good.
Friday, Saturday.
Chill on that one. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
In the calendar.
No worries. It's right now. That was quick. Dragon gets started, and you know what? We go from chill to kind of a rocky formula because BDS, even without level 6, want to contest this. Nuke is walking in, and Niski now at level 6 as well, just trying to zone out.
50% HP. Sheo just looks at them menacingly. He can just... Ooh.
Okay, he's just here. He's walking up. He just took it. Nuke just got a kill on the back end. Rahel gets not... What? SK just let Sheo walk up. And just like that, the game is in disarray. What happened?
My mouth is left agape, wondering what the hell did I just watch? Like, there was zero resistance. Zero. Like, BDS didn't even run into, like, bad weather running up the river. Like, there was nothing that stood in their way.
Breeze. Yeah. Ooh, it's chilly.
I want to see Swiffer's reaction.
Yeah, that's a Swiffer moment.
Because I'm baffled.
All right, break it down.
Just walks in.
Lebrov walks over a ward, the control ward. He sets up the flank and just...
Nisqy just dies to Nuke, who opens up a Culling with no one to protect him.
They get collapsed on 3 angles. It was just so easy for BDS. Now the Jinx has been accelerated. 2 kills for the Jinx. The Lucian is now 1-0 and 2. The kills going on to all the right people. Blue across the board at the bottom. A 2k gold lead already. SK. This is not how you want to start.
Maybe that's the problem. It's the blue that is causing issues here because SK, maybe defeated by KC, is where it started as Adam dodges away. It's a good little glacial opening, but you can see the electricity comes down. 2 members now going to bring it on as Adam at least drops and SK get 1, but Sheo hovering again, the sapling to zone out and Irrelevant doing Cassante things while Isma does survive. It's SK's opening here and there's no trade back.
Nice exhaust from Irrelevant to keep his jungler alive and make sure that they could actually get that kill back. Not quite able to get enough of a distance there for Shale for Adam to be able to bring Bone back, but overall, at least there's something back for SK.
You guys know that the KC fans are going to be coming out saying that, you know, we broke SK. Because I think they did. Cullen gets Nisqy out of there. He only has a TP in about 30 seconds, so might be rough depending on if he sticks around, but I know that's what I'd be spamming.
It's, I mean, as Dagda said, I think it's still something that Irrelevant gets that kill on the top side. It really helps in terms of the matchup. The Merc Tread's going to offer a huge amount of value. And ultimately, SK still have scaling on their side. If they're able to get to the late game point, we saw BDS lose a bad fight in game 1, and then it was a single fight needed to turn the game around. So I wouldn't say that it's all doom and gloom just yet, but definitely not something I would define as best case scenario.
No, that's nice. So somewhere in the middle.
Like plan B or C, to be honest, it's still very dire. Especially because Ice will start to get up towards this Kraken Slayer and then be able to keep pushing out this wave and make just very difficult for SK to try and hold on to these towers. And you can see Lebrov is doing a great job of every time this wave gets pushed in and bot, just opening up, getting vision control, denying Isma access to the map. And it means that you just get to continue to punish through range advantages or just the AD advantage that you have in mid here for BDS.
Grubs are being pinged right now.
There's a lot of things being pinged.
Yeah, a lot of... Seems like the question mark ping's coming out from BDS and they're just warning, hey, Lulu is missing, mid is very prone to a gank, please be careful, Nuke. You can see he's kind of hovering around the top side of the lane. Also getting nice damage using that Q.
Yeah. Shouting on stage, Rocket. Whoa! Okay, well,
nice!
That felt a lot stronger than it normally does at this time in the game.
Perhaps the pings were calculations.
Maybe that was the scream.
He was putting in the difference.
Yeah, he was doing the math, and yeah, there was no ward in that brush, but nicely done.
Really good.
He gets himself another kill, 3-0-0 now for the Jinx. Dagda talked about it in draft. This is a comfort pick for Ice, and he's really been set up for success.
And I mean, even though we're talking about it like, yeah, you know, SK are playing back to front and we're looking for them in a BDS comp. BDS are playing, let's just call it the SK comp for lack of a better word, right? With a 3k gold lead 11 minutes into the game, dragging up already. And it's just going from bad to worse. I like that we're between dire and not
Nisqy.
good as
Nisqy
was caught out. Sheo with a twisted advance. He gets sent back with the soldiers, tries to get out. Shifting Sands is there. Culling now at max range as Nisqy gets tagged out on the back end. And thankfully he holds on to Summoners. That's a win for him, I guess, as Irrelevant is going to battle it out with Adam. The Slicing Maelstrom comes through and Adam knows he has to get out of there before the all-out stops him in track.
And now BDS going to move down towards his bottom foot side. Sheo didn't use the ult to Lebrov. Taking some auto attacks here, but Ice bet to crash this wave. Nisqy's resetting. Is Nisqy going to try and cover with it? No, he's going to TP back into mid. Well, BDS also got it setting up in river now for Dragon.
Grubs have just been completely abandoned this game.
They have, haven't they?
Isma's on the bot side of the map there to cover a potential play. But yeah, no cross map available. We're not going to come anywhere close to 4 Grubs in this game. And the ulti to interrupt the back. Nicely done there from Ice. Leveraging the ultimate, knowing that there's probably going to be a window where he can't even use it anyway. And so he may as well just be annoying and disrupt the resets from SK.
I also just want to take a second while the resets are coming through to just give a shout out to Nuke. I think he's had an absolutely fantastic summer split and now coming into season finals because his playoffs, look, BDS as a whole didn't look great, but in general, like, he solo killed Humanoid. He's did a ton of solo kills in the mid lane. He's looked great against Niski here. And for a man specifically who we talked a lot about having champion pool issues and only having 3 or 4 champions, he's looked great on these 80 carry picks. Now still being able to go back and bring out things like the Cassiopeia in mid lane and have some of these pocket picks, he is really taking a massive step up, and BDS as a whole have kind of rallied around that, because when you have that strong of a mid laner, it becomes so much easier to dictate the pace of the match.
And I especially think when Adam was having some downtime and like Adam was a bit controversial at the time, right? As into pause, because Labrov just coming in to say howdy. Ismet gets on out, at least getting 2 grubs. 1 will go to BDS, but that'll be it for the game. But back on the topic is, you know, at least having that step up when Ice is playing well as well, and, you know, you have some of these great share performances. It feels like it balances out the team when it could just go pear-shaped on the other end if Nuke wasn't performing that well.
It could. We kind of reach a potential break point as the Herald spawns now in 30 seconds. The Herald is going to be super valuable, mainly because there's a decent amount of wave clear on both sides, and having access to that objective just makes it that much easier to siege through mid, maybe even just unlock a side. Right now it's Labrov looking to set up some vision around the area, but SK, thanks to securing those few earlier grubs, already have the groundwork for the vision that they need. Nice ward there, spawning out many members of SK. Keep my eyes on Irrelevant. No TP for him. Adam has his available. He's about to tick over to level 11. A big level up for him as he makes his way back towards bot, and the Herald has begun.
On Nature's Grass is what will start it off. You're waiting for it, aren't you? Everyone at home sitting there and thinking, when will Sheo pull the trigger? SK know that, pull back themselves and try and wait it out. And you notice as well, SK feeling a little bit more confident. They've got their first item on some of these carries. Static, Niski with the I was going to say Wish and Nashes, excuse me, thank you. Zeke's Convergence also picked up by Isma as well, so it feels like SK a little bit more ready to fight as Herald started off for them, and BDS are now coming in second fiddle.
They did get the push. TP in behind.
Yeah, that TP behind is what I'm looking at. Cherry jumps on in, he steals it again! Just walked up, bro loves going in for a quick take as Niski just dies at the back end. Irrelevant isolated. SK in these team fights. They're like the John Travolta meme. What is happening? Nuke gonna get exhausted. He has to flash away, and Irrelevant, to his credit, he's trying to make something work this game, but Adam cleans him up on the end, and no team fight for SK seems it can go right this series.
It happened again. SK are the ones that set up on the objective, but BDS, they come in from multiple different angles, and it's SK that are getting caught out. Rahel was getting completely zoned away by Ice the entire time that fight was happening, and then Ice just able to join the rest of his team as Adam comes in as well. BDS, they just had multiple angles of attack, and they executed perfectly.
Things are falling apart so quickly for SK. Their chances, their dreams, the opportunity of qualifying for Worlds will be cut short with a BDS victory here. And we look back at the replay, and again, they this time deny Sheo access, but he finds his way in with the W. The smite comes early from Isma, allowing Sheo to get the steal. Rahel, as you highlighted, Dagda, being zoned off on the right-hand side. I mean, the Jinx just basically killing the bot lane, and then Adam with a great flash over the wall to really solidify the one team fight, as Irrelevant can do very little on the top side of the map. SK, though, they haven't given up just yet.
They haven't. Niski popped his ult as we come back from the replay. It looks like Sheo had to flash in that exchange that we missed.
Look at the rest of the map.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone has already moved in position on BDS to start to cover that top lane play from SK. So Nuke is now to get on towards the bottom side. You already had Ice who was pushing in the mid lane as well, so SK have to try and stop that, and Adam manages to interrupt Niski's back as well. BDS, they're denying SK and extending the gold lead.
And look at that mid-tier 1 tower as well. It's just so low. Ice is going to secure it, and it's just a repeat of what we saw in the previous game.
Yep.
It's not complicated, it's just simple macro. They just have smart lane assignments, they send right people to the right lanes. They have enough people to cover for the dive that SK overcommits members on. They sent 5 people up there, leaving their bot and mid exposed. allowing BDS to extend the goal lead even further.
And it's got to be heartbreaking for SK fans because it felt like the engine had really gotten rolling with Rahel and Luon, but now it feels like it's starting to sputter and die as SK try desperately again to make a play into the top side, but Lebrov in position to cover. New could TP if he wants to, but I think BDS gonna...
I mean, Adam, great sidestep in the meantime though, and he's waiting for the slicing Maelstrom, pops it, but there won't be enough only to buy time. He shuts down, or rather Rahel gets it. Lebrov now isolated while Dragon goes down, and he tries to buy time too, but with the Herald out, he's going to make an escape and get on out of there.
Go on, my son.
And they're even going to try and dive bot. Niski gets zoned away. Lebrov is on a magical journey, but he ain't playing Bard. He navigates that wall too.
But the tower aggro, they ran out of minions. And so Irrelevant actually ends up getting killed by Lebrov as well. He brings it mid, they secure another tower.
It gets the charge back. He's going again!
Oh my goodness!
It's a disaster.
It's a complete disaster! Wait, he didn't do anything with the
No,
charger?
he actually just stopped it charging the inhibitor tower. That's all he did.
Oh my goodness. SK, I mean, it's 5 towers to 1. It's 8 kills to 2. This Lucian has a 2.6k gold lead over Niski, who finds himself at 0 and 3 once more. BDS are on track to 3-0 in this series. And SK, they showed us promise in game 1, but it feels like that BDS was quick to shut that promise down.
Could not be a worse way to go as well. I mean, getting slapped in the face like this, it'll leave a mark for until next year. And I have to say, for SK, you know, I was personally excited about this team because, you know, you guys already brought it up before. The bot lane that came through, and we've talked about in length for it as well.
They were a very exciting team to watch during the regular season.
They were really fun to watch.
And like that's really the sad part, is that it felt like they were so close.
Yep.
You know, we as casters use this word potential all the time, but we really did see it because they finished first at the end of the regular season. They went 2-1 against Fnatic in the very first round, and we were optimistic after they beat Heretics with some confidence in the lower bracket. And then we saw that series versus KC. They fumbled game 1, and we thought, okay, well, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully coming back in the season finals, they'll be able to rectify some of their issues, but unfortunately, they just haven't been able to.
It has been that mid game where they struggle, but Lebrov might struggle here as well.
Yeah, he might indeed. He pops the ulti, Nature's Grass comes out, but look at the angle on it as well. Cleanse has to be burned immediately. This turn is looking dangerous as Isma gives an excitement over to Ice, and Range starts playing, SK back away, and Lebrov is just a babe.
That was heartbreaking. Rahel autoed the blast cone to get himself to safety, but it was right as Isma Q and flashed away, so he just ends up knocking Isma back into the rest of BDS. And with jungler down, that's Baron for BDS.
Look at Adam.
Sneaky, sneaky.
Well, I mean, a hero play from SK is what I'm looking at, because Niski needs to get in there with a flash Emperor's Divide. Health bar's going down, but you said it, Adam now spotted out on the ward, but his angle is just as Lebrov is also coming in. Now onto BDS, there's the knockup for Rahel and Luon. It's great, but Adam shocks him in awe again, but in the pinch out. He's just trying to take the Baron. He eventually knocks it down, fails his flash. And for SK, I mean, that's still as breath of a light as you can get at this point in the game.
BDS completely fumbled it. They don't go for the engage. Adam was sitting on a ward, which meant that SK were just free to turn on towards Lebrov, push him out, and then dive onto the 2 carries of BDS who were completely isolated.
It's a breath of life that SK desperately needed, and Rahel is the one to get the triple kill. Now this Zeri can really get going. And SK, they have an avenue back into this game.
Well, it seems like it, doesn't it? I'm looking at that gold still being so far away, but as you said, the gold on the Zeri, they might just be able to do it. That was a flimsy fight if I've ever seen it. I mean, I thought BDS was still so far ahead it didn't matter, but...
Yeah, I thought, honestly, that they were even going to steal the Baron.
Yeah.
If they could have killed Shea a little faster, there was a real possibility of them doing that. But the Baron's going to offer no value. It's 50 seconds until the Dragon Soul becomes available for BDS. It's SK that's first to the objective. They can't afford to give up these waves. So Rahel going to catch that one in mid. The tension continues to mount.
Lebrov doing what he can with the last remaining Baron buff to see what he can set up. Rahel spotted as BDS. Trying to nearly set up just on mid wave instead. Draw SK out. They're more than happy to just give a Dragon across to SK. So SK now forced back into their own jungle as they try and defend both the mid push and this Dragon.
The thing is that single fight wasn't enough to completely swing the game, right?
Yeah.
They still find themselves at such a massive deficit. There is still a huge wallet diff, but a small glimmer of hope.
Flash headbutt pulverize. Niski gets a wild growth, but flashes over the wall. The Nature's Grasp again zones them out, and look, they get a free target onto Isma. His team was locked in place. Irrelevant running for his life as the rest of SK are now getting collapsed on. And when we saw a fumble around Baron, BDS weren't going to give any more free skin over to SK. The rocket lines them up. Adam sends them out, and the zap threatens him through. A new bot lane from Korea. Ain't enough for Ice and Lebrov, who've been doing it better since the start of the year. Ice cleans it up with Adam on the back end, and BDS ain't got time for this series anymore.
A Proto Bell pop shot from Adam sets up Ice for the chase down, and as cool as Ice, BDS will finish out this series. It has been a stomp from BDS.
And with one swift move, BDS to clean up the Nexus turret. The death timers are still too low, but it still feels like this game has got a stake through the coffin as, hang on. Lebrov, I'm not sure if we're going to get caught out here. Hex gates are in use, but BDS are going to take the safe way out. They're still so far ahead, and the base is in tatters.
It's that engage from Lebrov, it was just, SK wasn't prepared for it. It came in so fast. It was a small window where BDS recognized we just have a man advantage, let's just punish them. And Lebrov, with a great series overall, continues that level of play, finding that angle and just putting the pressure back onto SK, kind of denying them that glimmer of hope just as quickly as they gained it. And then Rahel, he knows there's nothing he can do. He tries his best with the ultimate, and just like that, the game returns to the state that it was in before the ban.
Yeah.
The soul secured. BDS can easily play on 2 lanes, as they love to do.
Relevant was spotted.
He's trying to find a flank, but who's collapsing on who?
I mean, Lebrov is searching for him. Show's going to find him first, and the rest of SK are going to have to come to the play because Irrelevant's got no way out, no way in, and Ice on the back end as well starts zoning them off. You can see, excuse me, this ain't a squishy Cassante. Nature's Grasp for the rest of them. Nuke is going to take him down, and Adam on the back end pummels him into the ground. Getting excited is Ice as Isma gets tagged off the back end, and BDS, they're just taking free kills at this point. They see $5 on the ground, they pick it up. Another 10, it keeps lining up. Their luck will continue to thrive as the TP in, the flash out for the culling. Rahel at 1 HP, gives the final nail in. SK, it's a disappointing end to the year. And as soon as they debut in season finals, their road is cut in an instant. But BDS are paving their way. Brick by brick by brick, BDS are returning to form.
A commanding and dominant series from BDS. It felt like that they barely ever gave SK any room to breathe. Fantastic series from Sheo. Great play overall from the team in terms of their mid-game macro. And after falling short to Fnatic 0-3, having a confident series like this is going to be massive for them moving forward in the season finals.
Oh, it's a rinse and repeat, isn't it, of 2023. You can vote for your key player of the series at LEC, on X, Sheo, Nuke, or Ice. I agree with you, Dagda, but then I also agree with Vedius. Sheo, Nuke, oh, that's too hard. Never mind, I don't have to do it. Thankfully, I don't have to do it. Sheo, another great series, or at least a great series, rather. But Nuke again, you're right, another banger.
But it felt like a go back to what has always worked for BDS. Tank, jungler that can provide engage or provide setup, looking at Lebrov to try and be that secondary engage tool alongside Sheo, and then just have those carries coming through and Nuke, Ice looking great. This was the team from spring that we expected.
And a bye to SK in the same vein. Rahel and Luon, exciting prospects in the bottom lane, but we have to see where they end up in 2025. I mean, we saw the potential of SK again. I think Betty was saying in game, that's why this hurts, because we saw the heights of SK, and unfortunately not living up to it is a sad way to go.
Yeah, it certainly is. And like, we need to give credit where it's due. They did finish first at the end of the summer regular season. They showed us some amazing highlight moments. We got excited for pretty much every single member of this team at some point throughout the split, because the story for them was that there were many star performances from each of the individuals, and it is a shame that we didn't really get to see that in today's series, because I do think their ceiling is high, and we are excited to see many of the players return next year. But unfortunately, this is where their road ends, as BDSs continue in the race, not only for the season finals trophy, but also in the race to represent Europe.
It's a fun project as well, I feel like, SK, you know, kind of developing throughout the year, and I mean, the bot lane part of that project. I think there's a lot shown from players like Niski as well, when this guy is a bit of a legend in the league, that he's still got it, you know? Not the Fonz, but he's still got it.
Yeah, I mean, it was just unfortunate we didn't quite get to see him pop off here today, because again, it has been these individual moments for SK that have really made this team and have made them so fun to watch. But BDS, they are so good at just clamping down on that, and unfortunately we're just too good at it today.
Yeah, they were a 3-0 in the books. That'll give their confidence going up against GX or G2, the winner of that series in the lower bracket next. But for now, Genera is standing by with Nuke in the Marriott Bonvoy post-game check-in. Over to you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, and thank you, Nuke, for joining as well. A dominant and convincing 3-0 against SK here in that lower bracket as a best of 5. How does it feel, considering, you know, the game against Fnatic maybe didn't go the way you wanted it to?
I mean, it's feeling really good, right, to actually have a strong showing. Like you said, like the Fnatic and even the previous best of 5, like even in the playoff and everything. Like, we were really aiming to do better and to show that we're not like just the random team that can get stomped by everyone, right? So yeah.
Well, you've proved that here today. But when it comes to that 1 week that you had between Fnatic and the game against SK, what did that look like from your side of things to get everyone on the same page?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it, right? Just trying to... We were really disconnected previously, and today I think we were more connected, and this was the main focus of the week. So yeah, the week, I mean, high pressure, high like work ethic, and then we just delivered today, so I'm happy.
How do you do that? How do you go from being disconnected to being connected again? Because it feels like we're seeing those fluctuations from you guys.
I mean, we were connected in the past, right? And we were playing with each other for such a long time. I think you just have those type of moment, right, when, I don't know, it's like the universe, something just disconnected everyone, and then you have to get back together and like to be a family again and just play good.
Well, you played good today. It showed. I also want to talk about the fact that you're touching upon the pressure particularly, because you're now in this lower bracket, and it is best of 5 games. So it gives teams the chance to adapt, to learn as they go along. How does that impact you as a player?
I mean, the pressure is kind of part of the job, right? You are under pressure to perform every day when you come to the office and when you come to the stage. So yeah, you just have to deal with it and actually overcome this pressure and just perform as you can, right?
You guys performed well, and you also touched upon the fact that it feels like you're all on the same page, which is something that we've seen particularly on that first game. It was kind of early game going more in SK's favor, and then it was a 1 dragon fight, and it went your way. How do you make that call as a collective? How do you, all 5 people at the same time, realize this is the moment that we need to go for?
I mean, like you press tab, right? There's the 2 drafts. We saw that we have 2 items with like Cassiopeia, Cassante, like the most disgusting comp ever. And we just went as 5 and we knew we would win this fight.
Talking about Cassiopeia, you've played it,
Yeah.
but also Adam played it in the top lane. How do you feel about that one?
I mean, this pick is kind of like a long time ago, like sorry, even against like Mad Lion final or like Rogue, it was Koi, the last year. We just blind picked the champ, and I was actually the one playing it, but now we actually flex it. So yeah, I'm happy.
Did you teach him some moves, or?
I mean, he's like really good on Cassiopeia, so it's like, I think he's maybe even better than me, since I don't like play it that often recently, but he's like really, really good on it.
Oh, there's some really kind words for your teammate, who's actually sitting on the opposite side with lore for PGL, so let's hear what they have to say.
Thank you so much, Kimi. Amazing to hear from Nuke as well, especially praising his top laner. First things first, Adam, congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us. So from the Cassio experts in the mid lane telling you that actually you may be better than him, that's not something that I expected to hear.
I mean, let's say I will not disagree with his statement.
All right. Let's not be humble. It's fine.
I will not disagree with what he said, but I mean, to be fair, like especially with like striker, like he knows Nuke and me like for a long time, since 2020, so like more than 4 years now. And since this time, I've always been, you know, playing this Cassiopeia top, and it's actually the first time I think in my entire career that I'm actually pulling her, you know, on stage. So it was basically my first Cassiopeia in competitive. So I would say she can be in like a decent spot in some drafts, and that's why like Striker gave me like the trust of me picking her like today and flexing it with Nuke as well. We could see like he played it mid and I played her top. So it's like it's another pick that we actually added. I would say it's already like not comfortable for teams to draft against us usually, and if we keep adding like, you know, those flex pick or those kind of niche pick in a way, it can be even harder for the enemy team.
Can you tell me more about the preparation you had coming in today? Because Medic, I think that we all agreed on the fact that BDS's preparation, especially when it comes to draft, was spot on, honestly, and it came also to answer the answers that they had in game.
Yeah, something we noticed last week was it felt like you were giving a lot less agency to Ice in later game portions of the match with like the Jhin and with the Ziggs. He didn't have this hyper carry that we saw him on today, and this week felt very much more like reverting to the BDS style. The idea of we have a couple of tanks, we can play front to back during team fights, we can also look for, you know, cannon flanks and such, but it felt very much more standard BDS today. Was that an intentional change from you guys?
I mean, it can be intentional, but it's not like 100% true, for example, because if you check, for example, only our like the regular split of summer, like we finished 8-1 and we've been spamming a lot like those AP jungle, and usually with like AP jungle you're seeking for like utility ADC, so that's why like we could see Ice being more on the like the utility style, so like some Ashe, some Jhin, and now you can see like in this meta some MF is popping. We played MF last week, and it's like actually in this meta like I'm not quite sure like what is really OP, so it's like we keep exploring stuff, and we try to see like what can work the best for us, and maybe today like we managed to pick like some maybe stronger late game carry for Ice, but maybe it was also like super specific to SK, for example, because I don't think that you can actually draft this against like any other team, because of course if you play like Jinx or Zeri, you're super weak early, and SK wasn't like the most decisive team in early game today. Like we could see, I think they were giving like so much free stuff to us. They shouldn't have done that. So it's like we pick free scaling. They don't really do much. So it was like kind of like the easy way out for us, because we knew that if we have scaling and they don't do much in early, I think we would win. So it's like, yeah, we're just chilling.
So then, if last week when you played up against Fnatic and you ended up losing 0-3, those were drafts that you were more comfortable with, as you say, you did play them during the regular season as well. What was actually the issue for BDS last week? Why did you seem so discoordinated as a team?
I
or
mean,
uncoordinated, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we had to ask.
Yeah, no, I mean, of course, our performance last week, 2 weeks ago, sorry?
2 weeks,
yeah.
2 weeks ago?
No, last week.
Last week.
Yeah.
Last week. Our performance was like not the best. Actually, it was not like the BDS that we had today, for example. I mean, I'm not sure how to explain. It was like super, like we're just not a team, I would say, last week. We're like super disconnected. Maybe words cannot describe. Maybe like the mood was not it. Like everyone was not really feeling into it. So maybe it was actually good, like work as a reality check for us, because I think we came with pretty good confidence coming up against Fnatic, and we really thought that we could actually beat them, but they actually really stomped us like a lot. And it's like they made us realize what we actually need to work on, because if we want to go towards, we need to make top 2. And of course, if we want to make top 2, we cannot be shaking today against SK. So like the journey started actually like the day after Fnatic beat us.
I know that at the beginning of the year, I can't remember if it was you or Nuke saying this in interview, but basically the fact that BDS could get overconfident sometimes, and that you forget your League of Legends when you get overconfident. Do you think that was the case and you overestimated Fnatic, for instance?
Hey, I mean, I'm not sure if we underestimated them, but maybe we just came into the best of like with the too light mood, because maybe we're like unconsciously, of course, because we still wanted to win, but maybe unconsciously we're like, it's okay. It's okay if they win, right? Because we still have loser bracket. So it's like, you know, like this format makes it that it's a bit weird, like to actually know what you're actually playing for, and maybe we actually got like the hard part of this format, which is you still have a loser bracket in season finals, so it's like yeah. And now that we don't have any more chances, we just need like to go full all in, and we just cannot stop here.
I want to talk about the run that you may have ahead of you guys a bit later, but let's stay on the positives on what happened today. Your mid laner was praising you for playing a good Cassio top lane. He got Kia Player of the Series today, being the best performing member of BDS. Is it something that you agree on? That's what the fan decided, at least.
No, like I do agree with this statement. I also do think that Sheo, with his really supportive jungle, like Dutri and Sejuani, you know, when Sheo plays Dutri, he's always happy. So it's like I think he actually played super well, and it was also like one of our like main focus to like having Sheo really close to his laners overall, like not ignoring me, not ignoring mid, or nor ignoring bot as well. It's like it was our main focus coming up into this week, and I'm really happy with what he actually showed and what we actually showed, you know, as a team in general, because it was like the BDS that we're supposed to know.
Yeah.
And seeing that makes me like super happy and give me a lot of hope, especially for next week, because we can be facing G2, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a really difficult matchup next week if you are facing G2. I do want to just mention as well, today we saw a lot of level 1s from you guys, and throughout the split we saw a lot of lane swaps as well. You were kind of the lead in Europe for the game starts at level 1. Is that something you expect to be able to continue through the rest, or was it just an SK sort of focused idea?
I mean, like in general, how we view like level 1 as a team, we think that it's super important because the game actually starts the moment you leave base, basically, and it's like there's always like a strategy that you can have from level 1 that can actually just win the game, actually level 1. So like we tend to focus a bit on it, but not having too much, because if we have like a partner on level 1, then maybe enemy team can like scout us and they're like, oh, they like to do this. So we try to take it a bit chill, you know, we're like trying to improvise a little bit sometimes, and yeah, we just take it from there.
I mean, that's the thing. That's what I was wondering, actually. Is it the kind of place that you cook during the stream, during the scrim week and everything, or do you just come up with them on the fly because you don't want to have the risk of someone just finding out? Or like, how much time do you spend actually coming up with this? I don't know, cheesy early gameplays. I
mean, to be fair, like the level 1s, I would say most of them are like legit not planned, because it happens with the information that you actually get from level 1. Let's say someone spots someone spots top, so we know they don't have vision bot side. You can sneak away into bot and maybe kill someone. So it's like this is not something that you can actually plan even from scrims, because it also depends a lot on draft. And you cannot actually just push out an entire draft. It cannot happen, right? And also, let's say you scrim a team, you need to play the exact same draft that you will be playing against on stage.
Yeah,
never happen. So it's like, yeah, it's mostly improvisation, basically.
Focusing on BDS, moving on. I have to be honest, you got us worried. Looking at last week especially, but when I listen to you, it feels like you were always in control, and that last week was just a fumble. Didn't get you worried at all?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that last week.
There it is.
I wouldn't say that last week we were in control, but the most important part is when you actually get beaten up so much, you still need like to, you know, stand up again and fight for your objective. And our objectives are clear. We want to go towards, and Fnatic beating us means that we have to go top 2. So it's like life is like that. So we know now we actually know what we want and what we can actually play for. We know who we have to beat in order to reach what we want. So everything is basically just straightforward at this point.
We're starting to build a history between you guys and Fnatic. Actually, taking you down, you're going to have to take revenge.
Of course, yeah. They beat us for the MSI. Even last year, actually, they did beat us in season finals as well. And then we had, and then we finished like 4th place. And then we had to face Golden Guardians afterwards. So it's like, yeah, every time during like important matches, they actually beat us. So yeah, maybe we'll get our revenge. I'm not sure. Let's see.
Hopefully so, at some point. Medic, moving forward, it means that we have to say goodbye to SK. We're not going to see them until next year, and I'm sad for the way they ended the year, especially because they gave us hope, especially after week 1. It was like, is it going to be the same case of SK performing well in the first 2-3 weeks? They actually held the distance for once, but not quite enough.
Yeah, ended the top of the regular season in summer, the same scoreline as you guys at 8-1. I thought the addition of Rahel and Luon would actually be a huge bolster to this team, and it was. But then it really felt like their mid game began to let them down. And today we kind of had the comparison of BDS, who are greater than the sum of their parts, right? Each individual is good, but together as a unit, they play incredibly well. Whereas SK, individually, one player would stand out from time to time, but you would never have this cohesive mid game that really allowed them to accelerate the game. You saw it especially in game one, right? It just didn't work for them. I think Irrelevant is a player I've got my eyes on for next year. Incredibly good top laner, one of the better top laners in our league, and I hope that we'll see him back on the stage. I hope we'll see all the players back on the stage.
Definitely. It is going to be an interesting off-season, I expect, for SK. Obviously waiting for statements online to hear about what happened from them today, but let's stay focused on the winners and the teams we're going to keep on seeing in season finals with the brackets. Because, Adam, you put it right on X last week. If you want to make Worlds, you got to go far. And it might be G2 next week, but it also might be GX. What do you think of the matchup tomorrow?
I'm telling you, GX are actually the GOAT right now. They have the GOAT Jackies, and Jackies will probably gap Caps tomorrow.
Ooh.
Actually, no, the GX will actually get absolutely demolished, I think. But
oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be fair, I really want, like, unironically, I really want G2 to win because I don't want to go to Munich without beating G2. You know, they've been actually beating us like this entire year, and it would be like good that we go to top 2 without beating G2, but it feels wrong in a way. You know, for example, like it actually feels wrong. You go to Worlds without beating G2 a single time this year.
Yeah.
Nor, like, you don't beat either G2 or Fnatic. It feels weird, you know, like they just smack you the entire year, and you still go to Worlds without beating them. So, yeah.
Something seems unfair, unfinished business if you don't have to beat G2. Reminder here, you will face this winner next week, but next week is not going to be a Saturday, Sunday as this week. It's going to be Friday and Saturday. We will remind you, of course, on socials throughout the weekend. But yeah, schedule shifting a bit for next week. Medic, we heard it from Adam. GX getting absolutely demolished. Air quotes here tomorrow. Do you agree on that?
Yeah. I love Jackies. I think Giant like, from what I've heard of scrims as well, at times they're doing really well in scrims. But G2, they should just be the better team. Like, lane for lane, they should be better. Overall, map movements, they should be better. So my expectation is we have BDS versus G2, and as you say, that's your battle to overcome. And G2 already going to Worlds means that if they get knocked out, it's the 2 finalists, which is kind of a nice culmination to the year, right? The 2 teams in the season finals will be joining G2 at Worlds.
It made it interesting. I mean, G2 losing made it interesting for the rest of the teams. Once again, Adam, congrats on winning today, and looking forward to seeing what BDS can bring next week. And that's all for us here on the side of the studio. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, to see who BDS has to face in order to go to Munich. And that's all for us here today. Have an amazing night. See you tomorrow.
I like the wait.
As he flushes out and gets out of the back end of the fight. As Ice and Sheo getting chased down by this angry, light-eating monster. No wonder Venny played it. It cleans house.
BQ, triple Q.
Nice, well played.
Well played, Sheo, baby. Nice might.
Oh my god.
Well played. Well played, guys. Okay, guys. They're really bad, okay? They can only win by chasing level 1 and shit like this, so let's be careful about that.
Like Niski here, who's about to die. He should have gone to the website. Use the code Legend15, Niski. Phosphorus bomb, auto attack. It's first blood over to BDS. He's deep. He has to press E. Straight away, the flash comes out as well to Luon. He wants a hand, but Ice won't let him get away. No.
Also getting nice damage using that Q.
Yeah. There's some shouting on stage. Rocket. Oh my god! Okay, well, it's great, but Adam shocks him in awe again, but in the pinch out. He's just trying to take the Baron. He eventually knocks it down. Finally, flash. And for SK, I mean, that's still as breath of a light as you can get at this point in the game.
That was a quick one, guys. Well played. One more week.
I think on Baron you guys are trolling by the way, no?
One more week before vacation. That's good. Let's go.